Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I don't know why I did it like that.
Nice. I've always been tempted.
I've always, I try my best to change it up, and in that way, I think I was a little annoying. Let me do that again. Welcome to Chasing Labels. This is episode 43, spy number 43. Am I right?
It is indeed. Cool. We are at number 43, making our way through the 40s, and yeah, we are back seemingly so soon. It feels like we were just here doing this. I haven't made that reference in a while, so I thought I'd bring back that old adage.
Now we got to do it. Now let's rewind it again so we do it again with you saying something not the same thing, No, I'm just kidding. We can't keep doing this over again.
Thank you for the call out. Thank you for the call out.
Yeah, we got to keep each other honest. I mean, it's...
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. But today, this week on the new episode of Chasing Labels, we do have another guest that we are excited to talk about movies with. Steven, who do we have?
Well, this guy, he had the nerve to be very nice to me on Twitter and say, to both of us, and say, hey, I like what you're doing on that Chasing Labels. And I was like, thanks, man. And he's like, hey, if you ever need a guest. And I was like, we're going to need guests. So yeah, so this guy, he's a musician. He's a podcaster. He's been on a lot of other podcasts. One of them being Just the Discs, is one of the notable ones there. And I think Film Feast is another one I listen to him on. Mm-hmm. And then he's got a lot of things going on. So we're gonna get into it with Mr. Keith Rich. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing well, guys. How are you both doing?
Tired. We talked about this.
Yes, we did. We are
before
tired.
Mike, I am tired. Well, let's get it on the record. I am tired because I was doing a household chore that wasn't as successful as I was liking it to be, and now I'm here. Trying to be perky. I'm perky. I'm good. I'm always perky.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thanks, man. And I know you said you were being, you have a kid, a newly born.
Yeah, just general tired. Yeah,
okay.
Sleeping isn't really a thing right now, so yeah.
Cool.
He's gone backwards into sleeping thing, so it's like, wake up every other hour, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, man. So can't wait for that.
Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
That sounds like Andrew, though, right? Yeah, isn't that how you sleep? It's just like every other hour you're getting up?
Me? I don't know. It's odd. Like I went, just to give a little peek behind the scenes, I went to bed at 9:30 this morning and then woke up at 3, and then we have to shoot the show later that day. So I don't know. My hours change by the day, but I like to make reference to The Shining often because just of odd reasons. There's the part in The Shining where that ghost person tells Jack Nicholson, you've always been here. I like to think I've always been tired. So that's the way I kind of roll with it.
That's great.
It's like you've always been tired, so that's just your life right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very positive of you, Andrew.
Not so much so.
No, it's
more positive things.
We're just so tired today. It's a Sunday. Actually, the weather's great here, so it should be. It'd be nice to be outside today. I'm here doing this with you guys. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
I know.
I'm just trying to bring us down even more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Keith.
Yes.
All right, so tell us about where the love of film for you began.
Ooh. Yeah, it would have probably started from maybe age 4, 5, somewhere in that ballpark. I remember us getting a VCR pretty early on in the 80s, and my mom and dad buying, I think the first tape was Bambi. And so they just kind of kept buying those big clamshell Disney VHS tapes, and just got way into it. So it kind of grew from there. And my grandfather actually owned a TV, electronics store, an RCA store. So he had access to all these RCA video discs, and he'd let me just come and hang out in the shop as a kid and just watch whatever, which yielded some interesting results. Watching Terminator at, age 4 or 5, probably not cool, but
that's perfect. Perfect age. That's probably about what time I did too.
Yeah. It was a different time. It was a different time. Nothing like seeing an eyeball get cut out.
Is that something? What are you thinking about when you're thinking about your own child? Are you thinking about how early you should be? Do you have a choice? Does the wife say no?
Well, we've talked about it a little bit. We've talked about kind of just easing in and kind of just basing it off how mature he might be or his understanding of basic things. So it's just kind of take it as it comes. But I mean, already, I mean, one of his first movies was like Walking the Edge. I was watching that when he was like a very newborn, and a lot of, you know, if you've seen that movie, you know, he couldn't see it because he's like basically blind at that age, but he could hear a lot of F-bombs. I'll say that. So it was interesting, but yeah, it just kind of went on from there, and I've been collecting since, you know, really like single digits, like VHS tapes, and then into DVDs and blues, and it's still growing.
So what's the collection look like? How big is it? Come on, give us a number. I know that was a little dirty how I said that. I don't know why.
No, I like it. I like it. No, it's good. Around 2,100.
Nice.
Discs.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, you know, I
It's
got
a
lucky. You know, when we were house hunting, you know, one of the things that had to happen was there had to be like an extra room for me, and we found this house, and I got like this whole basement room to myself, where I could put everything in. And so far, it's holding everything. So far,
Looks like a good setup.
it is a good setup right now. I did have to bring a cat down here that I decided to keep because I couldn't. I got attached to it, and we saved it, and then I was like, figured we would just get rid of it, but then I fell in love, and that's what happens with animals. And
You are a softie, Steven.
I'm a softie. I might sound like I'm, you know, a little hard edged, but I'm not. I'm a softie.
No.
And
I think we all are.
yeah, and so now I have this big ass enclosure in my room for now until he gets a little bit more mature. I can't just let him roam around in this room because he will destroy shit. So, and we can't have him destroying limited edition, you know, Blu-rays in here. But you know, it's a thing, man. These Blu-rays just keep piling up everywhere, and so where did music come in? Was music like a separate love, or was that something that you got from watching film, or?
Oh, it's a good question. No, those were separate.
Okay,
those were separate. Music came first. And my dad. It's interesting. I grew up like in a deaf household, so both my parents are deaf, but my dad can hear enough to where he loves music, so he would play stuff super loud all the time. Growing up, and so I just kind of fell in love with music that way. He took guitar lessons for like 2 weeks randomly, and I took to the guitar. He did not keep up with it. I inherited the guitar, and then away we went from there. So I was very much more probably a music obsessed person all through my teens, but still loved movies a ton. But I was really focused on music. Probably, I mean, especially about 15 is when I started my first band. So and I haven't stopped. I mean, I'm 37, so it hasn't really stopped.
Are you
at all?
Are you pissed off that Coda stole your story?
I was very relatable, man. I was like, oh, you know, it's like I mean, say what you will about the movie, but in terms of like how the portrayal of the family life, I mean, that was very kind of hit me in the feels because it was a little too accurate in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of disconnects and things like that between the deaf and hearing world. So it was interesting. It was interesting.
Are you? I'm assuming you know how to sign. Do you know how to sign?
Yeah, it was my first language. Yeah. So, and I've been kind of shitty about it, like the last like 20 years, just because I don't live at home and I don't see my folks all the time. So it wanes a little bit, but I always try to bring it back up to snuff. So
that's good.
It's tough.
That's good.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Oh yeah, just going back to obviously connecting it back to movies. You know, you mentioned VHS, DVD collecting, all that stuff. Did you go to the cinema a lot when you were a child? Because that seemed to be like a rite of passage, I guess, for most of us growing up around, 80s and 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember distinctly. I was talking to my mom about this the other day. Actually, like she took me to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was like 5. Maybe like Batman or Batman Returns. There were a bunch that we had seen, but I don't recall kind of all of the titles like early on. But we had a really cool small town theater. It was like an opera house that got converted into a theater from when I was a kid. So every weekend we were at the movies, and honestly, I saw whatever was playing. I saw some really just like House Guest or something. I don't know. There was like a movie with Steve Martin and Sinbad, I think. It's just so bad.
Sinbad, yes, that's an amazing movie. What are you talking about?
I think I ended up watching that probably renting it from Blockbuster, or maybe when it was on like cable eventually.
Yeah.
Because Sinbad was a big thing in the 90s. Like
He was. Yeah.
I mean, remember the movie First Kid, where he's like
Yeah.
the Secret Service agent
Protecting the
to,
president.
like, the president's son.
President's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
the president's son is kind of like, he's an angsty teen with like dad issues and stuff, and he can't really, he needs a father figure, so Sinbad kind of steps in and becomes the father figure. I remember that very vividly, but I think I could definitely connect with you on the fact going to movies at that early age, because I remember going to see Batman Returns, Jurassic Park, like all of those like big hits of the early 90s. And then like, yeah, when you were a kid in the 90s, for a lot of you listening, you kind of really, you didn't really choose movies. I guess you did, but you just kind of went and just saw the biggest movie that was playing new every week. If it was Batman Forever, you went and saw Batman Forever. It was Independence Day, Armageddon, all of those movies. That's kind of like a rite of passage, I guess, for our generation. Because I know, Steven, you kind of had the same thing going to the movies as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a big difference between how movie watched, theater, going to the theater was, back in the 90s, and what it has been probably the last 20 years maybe. Or I mean maybe not 20 years, but maybe about 10 to 15 years, is there's so much more coming out than there ever was even back in the 90s, that it felt like when you were going for a few different choices. There was only a few choices, and that they were all it felt like every week it was a big deal. Like everything was. But now it's just like between streaming and the 10 new releases in the theater that come out a week, most of them not being worth your time. It just, it just feels like not as special as it used to.
Well,
it's a lack of quality control for sure.
Yeah, I'll say it feels
kind of
more.
everything out.
Yeah, it feels more programmed. It feels more controlled, like you were saying. And it just, growing up, there was just a wild wonder of going to the movies. I remember distinctly looking in the newspaper for movie times. And I know they had movie phone back then, which I never knew of until I got older, that existed, where you could call up and get all the movie times, and they'd be like, I don't know if it was automated or something, and they would read you off the movie times. And it's just like, because my parents got the newspaper every day, so I would just look there. But it was such an organic type of thing, where today it feels a lot more controlled, because, social media is the way it is. Marketing is, they pump millions and millions and millions of dollars into marketing and stuff. But there was, there's that, and there's a combination of movie rental stores, which aren't really a thing these days. Keith, did you rent a lot of movies when you were younger, or was it more just buying stuff?
Yeah, no, we definitely rental a lot. We did family movie nights a ton. I remember renting No Holds Barred one time when I was
I did
4 or
too.
5. I was like, why are we watching this? But I loved WWF at the time, so it made sense. And then when we moved to a smaller town, and there was a place called the Video Place. So I was in there again, if I wasn't at the theater, I was at the video store, and we were renting stuff. And I had talked about this on other podcasts too, but just I would zero in on maybe 4 or 5 of the same titles, and I would keep renting them over and over. So Mallrats, From Dusk Till Dawn, I would just keep watching them over and over and memorizing them. Night at the Roxbury, I'm a big Night at the Roxbury fan. No shame. And so so we just, you got it, man.
Yeah, I almost want to play this. I was almost going to start humming the song, but I didn't think I should. I'm not the music man. I got 2 other people who are better musically inclined than I am.
I've already done my music for the day.
So we would rent stuff, and that kind of fed into the buying as well, because a lot of the times they'd have those bins where it'd be like used tapes for $4 or $5 that they don't want on the shelves anymore. So I would kind of clean house on some of that stuff, and for sure, man. It was a big deal for me to rent.
When kind of how music came into your life, and you said it came into your life during your teenage years. Was there specific genres of music that were hugely influential that you loved as a kid? Any of that?
Yeah. In the mid '90s, I was like way into. So I was kind of just listening to like whatever. Middle school days, I was listening to new metal, like a lot of angsty kids. Loved that stuff. And then I found there was a show on MTV that was on like super late in the mid to late '90s called Amp, and that was kind of like electronic stuff. So that's where I first heard Daft Punk and Aphex Twin and things kind of like that. Really, the big boom of all that stuff. Chemical Brothers, and so I kind of really gravitated towards that while still getting into the new metal thing. And then about 8th grade, I found punk. And so from there, that's kind of where my musical journey began. So I played in punk bands and things like that. But then, now I play in a metal band, and I love that too. But I honestly love kind of all styles. I don't know. It's definitely evolved. And I feel like I became a big boy when I realized that it's okay to like more than one style of music. So like mid 20s, I was like, oh, I don't have to just say I like this band. Like I can just like branch out and dig what I dig. So, so now it's all over the place, but punk was definitely kind of like the thing to kind of get me, on a path, so to speak.
When it comes to, of course, music a lot of times influences film, and a lot of when they're focusing on certain musicians or certain types of scenes specifically. I think punk had a lot of an effect on film during the 80s. Are there any films that hit on any of that stuff that stand out to you that you really love?
I'm trying to think of something. I mean, they weren't punk per se. They weren't punk bands in the movie per se, but like Legend of Billie Jean was a movie that I really gravitated towards. I love that movie, and that movie always just felt so punk to me, so I like loved the attitude of the movie, kind of calling people on their shit and holding people accountable. I like love that attitude, kind of just, we're just gonna kind of do what we need to do to survive kind of thing. It was more like early 2000s when it was stuff like SLC Punk. That was like a huge, like, of course we were just like, oh my God, there's a guy with a mohawk in the movie, like that type of thing. Really was just kind of watching a lot of MTV, to be perfectly honest. It was less film and more, I was obsessed with MTV, 120 minutes, like on Sunday nights, I would watch that, and you'd see a whole bunch of bands and like Suicide Machines and I don't know, even the Melvins and just a bunch of stuff. So
MTV is not the same anymore.
No, it hasn't been the same in a while.
It's been a while.
Long time.
Back in the 90s, MTV was all about music. Like they were just all their programming was pretty much all about music, and they would have some original programming and stuff like Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead, that was it.
Yeah, I think Daria was on MTV. Eon Flux, the animated series, may have been on MTV at the time. Mm-hmm. It was always a battle between VH1 and MTV, I feel. And I think eventually MTV ended up winning that battle. But VH1 had like their VH1 Classics channel where they would just play music, like old music videos and stuff. Then MTV, I think, I think they still have a channel where they just played music videos constantly.
Yeah,
and it's
MTV too. Yeah,
MTV too. That's what it was. And it was that's where we got a lot of musical influence. I think growing up in the '90s was from that. And there was so many different. There was such a lot of music stuff going on at the time. You had like the grunge era of the early '90s was kind of ending, and then new alternative was starting to take over. And then, of course, the boy band era started as well, and then
the best era.
Yeah. Ironically, it's kind of never died because, like, they just come up with new boy bands now, and then just the genre keeps rising back up, rising back up. and of
the
course,
old boy band, and then the old boy bands come back, and it's like,
they still tour.
Jesus Christ!
New Kids on the Block, Backstreet
New
bands,
Kids on the Block,
Backstreet Boys. They're still around. They still tour and stuff. They still make money because their albums still sell, music still sells, and of course they had the whole '90s hip hop era, and rap and all that kind of stuff was different back then. It was just a wild time to be a kid. It really was. So many different influences hitting you in so many different ways. When I think of punk, for some reason I think of like the punk of like the late '70s and '80s. I'm thinking specifically about the documentary Decline of Western Civilization Part 1, where it's all about that punk movement of the 70s and 80s and just that whole subculture of people and that all of that. Was that ever an influence, kind of looking back on that? Because you're talking more 90s punk, which is obviously
Right.
different. Every era of music is different.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's a doc I hadn't seen until like way later. But those bands were an influence for sure. Like Black Flag,
Yes.
specifically. I really dug them. It was interesting. It was kind of more the '80s stuff that kind of tripped my trigger a little bit when I was getting into it. So it would be bands like Black Flag. There was Minor Threat, even some late Fugazi. They were a little weirder. They weren't quite super punk, but had a good mix of stuff going on there. Had some reggae bands that were kind of punk too. There's a band called Token Entry that we listened to a lot in high school that was pretty cool. So it was just kind of that type of stuff. So ska kind of like factored into it. So like speaking of movies, I lost my shit when Real Big Fish was in Basketball, for example. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So I was like the prime audience for like the Blink 182 crowd and
goodness.
all of that stuff too. So I like the edgier stuff, but I love a good hook too. So I won't deny it. I love a good pop song.
Oh yeah. I'm just bringing up Blink 182. I'll never. Yeah. That music video, "What's My Age Again," where they're just running through the streets naked, like that stuff. Like I remember that very vividly. Just like, oh, that song played on a loop. They were once songs became super popular. That still happens today. They just play them over and over and over constantly to the point where it's burned into your brain for 20 years later. You can still remember.
Well, one thing, of course, that I've learned about you a little bit is that you also have been jumping in a little bit into composing music, not just rock and roll music in a band setting, but also you've been working on some films. You said.
Yeah. I've done I guess 3 shorts. One I don't know will ever see the light of day. It was a horror short. But another one it's actually on Comedy Central. Like they did like these digital short things, and it's like a horror comedy type of thing called Bad Vibes. So I did the music for that, and then another one that's on the Sundance Channel or Sundance somewhere. It's called Jits, Jits. It's directed by George Lindenberg Jr. He was like the main guy in Bumblebee, if you know that movie. So I got to meet him while he was doing a movie, the short that didn't come out. And so we got to talking, and he asked me if I would do it. So I thought it turned out pretty well. It's very cool.
So what's the when it comes to how are you playing like all the instruments? Are you creating this all like digitally? How are you going about how you arrange your music?
Yeah, it's all done through Logic on my computer. I have some drum machines and some just kind of like keyboards and things like that, so I just do it straight up through there, and I'm fully self-taught on any of that stuff, so I don't know how to play piano or anything.
We're self-taught talking on a podcast. All this stuff we do here, man, we all figured it out ourselves, and I think that the world, we kind of got into this a little bit with Kat Ellinger. It's like people that went to school for things seem to be the ones that want to keep people like us that just learned it on our own out. Like it's like,
that's true.
You know what I mean? It's like people feel entitled because they paid money to get taught how to do something when we just did it for free, and they feel upset that we're trying to do it. We're trying to go around the way that they did it. So there's nothing wrong with anybody that wants to try to learn something without going to school. It's
totally.
Yeah. And then it shows the passion too. Like, so
yeah, you can't fake that. You can't teach that.
No.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But do you have anything new that you're working on when it comes to composing? Is there anything in the pipeline or?
Nothing as of yet. I'm always kind of trying to keep my name out there and keep my ear to the ground as well. But as of right now, I'm kind of pretty busy with band stuff anyway. And I do a lot of solo work as well. That's more electronic type stuff. So I actually have 2 albums that'll be coming out in June. My solo one, and then my band, their debuts on a bigger label. So we're getting ready to put that out, and we're gonna kind of tour and hit that like pretty hard
Nice.
in May. So I'm kind of tunnel vision right now. It's like it's
yeah.
getting down to the nitty gritty. I'm leaving for a month, so it's kind of insane. Yeah, it's bonkers.
How's the lady feel about that?
Well, neither of us, honestly, in terms of the length of time, are pumped on that, and especially with like, I'm gonna miss my kid a whole lot. So I mean, that is like the biggest thing that's new to this whole thing. I mean, when we met, I've been touring off and on for the entirety of our relationship, so it's not new to her, but it's the kid factor is definitely the toughie. So it's just kind of like get out there, do it, and get back home safe, and love up on the baby.
Well, that's great. That's great that there's a support system there, and that's it's when your partner can recognize your passion for something and they don't try to take that from you, that's always a good thing.
Some she's wonderful.
Yeah. But all right. Well, unless you got anything else to ask our man here, do you want to jump into Blu-ray announcements?
Yeah, sounds good to me. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready to roll straight onto the main portion of our show.
A lot of crazy shit to talk about here.
Yeah, it's going to be a little wild, a little all over the place, but that's not unused to over here.
Yeah, we've just jump in. So I guess we're going to start with some Kino.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since we've delved into some Kino. Our good friends over at Kino who we love and appreciate all of their efforts, even though we are critical of them sometimes. But it's all the criticism is with love. But from a few weeks ago, picking up with a movie called Seamus, starring the late Burt Reynolds and Diane Cannon is in the film as well. This movie is directed by Buzz Kulick. I think it's Kulick. I'm bringing that up because there's another movie later on that they're also releasing by the same director. So I thought that would be important to bring up. And this looks... Anything with Burt Reynolds in it, I'm kind of automatically interested. Especially Burt Reynolds in the 70s, where he was doing probably his most well-known stuff, for the most part. So, moving on from there, we have a couple of more releases as I scroll up through all the stuff we've already talked about. We've got another movie. Let's talk about swinging into a completely different stratosphere. There's a movie called Rawhead Rex. And the cover of this thing is monstrously wild. Of course, it's a film written by Clive Barker, so you know it's going to be a little bit on the horror spectrum, of course, because Clive Barker is most notoriously known for doing horror stuff, specifically Hellraiser. I believe that was his book that he also turned into a movie and directed. Everyone knows Hellraiser.
And then Nightbreed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he also did.
Nightbreed?
Yeah, Nightbreed as well.
Was another one.
Which is really good. That's a really underrated movie.
It's fun. Yeah, creatures are cool in that movie.
Yeah, they are, and the movie kind of subverts the idea of like who the real monsters are. You know, it always ends up turning out that humanity are the real monsters, and the monsters are not really are more human like.
Yeah.
So moving on from Rawhead Rex, with a great demonic monstrous cover. We have more Clive Barker stuff with Underworld, and also known as Transmutations. So I don't know. There's a bit of a Clive Barker type of stuff now. It is, and this movie is also directed by George Pavlo, who also directed Rawhead Rex. There's the connection there.
I'll be honest. I didn't realize this much Clive Barker had been put into film, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't directed much, but his name has been on things. Now, whether he
did like Lord of Illusions, right? Was that another one that he did?
I think he did. I'm actually going to look him. Right. I'm going to look him up.
Thing is I feel like with Clive Barker, it's like if he doesn't direct it, I don't know if it's nearly as worth watching. I don't know.
Well, he's only directed 7 things in his career. You know. One being, first thing being Hellraiser, second thing being Nightbreed, then Lord of Illusions is his third, and then he did a video, Clive Barker's Salome and the Forbidden, which was, I think, a straight-to-video release in 1998, and he's got something in pre-production right now that he's directing, Zombies vs. Gladiators.
I wonder
what that's going to be about. Just a quick little fact on that. After a shaman who was about to die in the Colosseum casts a spell that unleashes the world's first zombies, a gladiator must fight to stop the spread of the zombie horde and save Rome. That sounds
mean,
like a video game
look,
if I've ever heard one.
I don't, to be honest, it sounds amazing. So
It really does.
I can't wait.
It sounds like a movie Nicolas Cage should be in.
Nicolas Cage
I
should
don't
be
know,
in every
Steven.
movie. What are we
Yeah, I
talking
know.
about here?
But moving on from that, let's see what else is on the docket, because I'm pretty sure we're going to swing back into more traditional stuff. So, there's a movie, a Phantom of the Dario Argento's Phantom of the Opera from 1998 is getting a release, and I think Phantom of the Opera has got to be one of the most adapted, stories of all time in so many different ways. I feel like we get a new Phantom of the Opera every couple of decades for like the first century of this story existing, and this is just another one. It's very interesting how like later Dario Argento really doesn't get a lot of spotlight, because apparently I've heard that it's not very good, because we've talked about him. His 70s work is getting all those releases from Arrow, and people love all that work and stuff, and the 80s work as well. But his 90s stuff all the way up till now, because he's still making movies, just no one talks about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Phantom disc is actually like one of those, because it used to be a Code Red, or it was on Ronin Flicks, I think, initially. So it must be one of those like reissued,
Yeah,
things, with a package deal.
Scorpion releasing.
Scorpion Releasing is putting it out.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm curious what his take on the whole Phantom story is going to be.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, because it was originally, I think it came out in I want to say like 1910, I think was the original publication of the story. And then it's gotten adaptations in the silent era. And then, of course, Universal Monsters. And then we got the musical, which a lot of people are very familiar with. I think only came into being around 1986. Andrew Lloyd Webber, I think that was him who did that.
Yep.
And yeah, so, and then of course there's been movie adaptations of that as well. So, very interesting. But moving on from there, this is the movie that's also directed by Buzz Killick. And this is Sergeant Riker starring Lee Marvin. And anything starring Lee Marvin always gets me interested instantly.
This looks like a dad movie.
I mean, 1968. It's what Dirty Dozen, I think, came out around that same time. So it's in that same era. Same era. It's got Lee Marvin, Vera Miles is in it as well, Peter Graves. Music by John Williams. Okay.
Nice.
I got that.
Sold.
That may get people more interested. This is getting a brand new 2K master as well.
It's pre Jaws. So
yes, pre Jaws. Has to be early.
Yeah, 68.
I don't know where John Williams' first credit is, but it must be in the 60s. But moving on from there, we have another one of these actor or actress-centric box sets. And this is actually a really interesting one that I'm super excited for. And this is Anna May Wong. And Anna May Wong is an actress that I think needs more spotlight. She was very prominent in the silent era and made her way into the talkie era as well. I know her specifically for being in the movie Shanghai Express, the Joseph von Sternberg and Marlene Dietrich film, which is my favorite collaboration of those two people. And she's in that movie. And there was not a lot of positive or good, Asian actor or actress representation on film during that time. And she's prominent for being that. Of course, being a woman as well, being on screen, especially a woman of minority descent. So this is very, very interesting. This is 3 movies. Dangerous to Know from 1938, King of Chinatown 1939, and Island of Lost Men 1939 as well. She was actually in a movie we just talked about. She had a very brief scene that we talked about last week. The silent film that Eureka's putting out. Was it not Above the Law? Outside the Law. That's what it was.
Yeah.
She's in like a couple of scenes in that movie, very young, because that movie was 1920. And she may have been like 15 in that movie or something.
Wow.
Super
I'll be
young.
honest, I was not aware of her. So I buy all these.
Yeah.
I buy all these
I'm
Kino
behind,
sets,
actually.
so I'm getting it. So I'll be getting that and checking out and seeing what she's all about, because I'm like I said, I'm not aware of her.
Yeah, she was the first Chinese American movie star.
Oh, okay.
So it was very significant.
All right.
So that's definitely highlight on my radar.
Well, the next one here, it seems to be one that'll probably be a highlight on somebody's radar. I don't know whose it'll be, but Savage Sisters.
I thought we talked about this at one point.
Did we talk about that, maybe?
If we didn't, it's I think we're getting the full details. It's coming out June 7th. New 2K Master. We're getting a new audio commentary. Great cover art. Just like super bombastic and feels like a 1970s B movie. Yeah, it's from the same director who made Black Mama, White Mama. So we're talking about those, those Pam Grier, blaxploitation type movies and whatnot. It feels like it fits within that. It looks like it fits within that genre.
All right. It looks up here that we got. I know we've talked about Stunt Rock.
Yes, with that wild psychedelic cover.
Yeah.
Looks like you just dropped acid.
Yeah.
It says Death Wish at 120 decibels.
Yeah.
Oh, what a saying.
But the next one here looks like a something that it was I believe, an Indicator release that now Kino's putting it out here. The Fu Manchu. Or is this a different? No, this is a different. Yeah. This is a different version, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the earlier one. This is the one starring Warner Oland.
Yes.
This is the mysterious double feature of the mysterious Dr. Fu Manchu and the return of Dr. Fu Manchu. And
I think we talked about these too.
We did talk about these because we talked about how absurd the whitewashing was back then, and still to an extent to today in Hollywood as well.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that pretty soon because they just announced something today that's also whitewashing. Yes. I mean, the other Dr. Fu Manchu with Christopher Lee, I believe it was Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, yeah.
The indicator said that's whitewashed as well.
Yeah, and then there's you, Andrew. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, damn.
But one of the next ones we got here, another box set. We got another one of these film noir Dark Side of Cinema sets coming out. Number 9.
Holy heck! I mean, 7. I don't think 7 or 8 have come out yet. I don't even know if 6 is out.
They're not even on pre-order yet. So they're announcing things before they've put the other ones on pre-order. I think I just think 7 went on pre-order.
Yeah, 6 doesn't come out until April 26th, which is what, 23 days, 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. So
they got 6, and then 7's coming out in June, and then 8's coming out. I don't know when. I don't even know if they've announced when 8's coming out.
They're really getting ahead of the curve.
Yeah, they're way ahead of it.
I don't know.
I don't know if they're just trying to lay them all out, and then they'll just, that'll be it.
Maybe there's like a time they have to get it done by, like they have to release them by before they lose the rights.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that.
I mean,
could be.
But
I'm
excited for them. I once again, I'm going to buy all these.
Yeah, 8's coming out in July.
So much.
Yeah, so you've got April, June, July, and then whenever this one's coming out, this one will be. I don't know. Could be August. Could be September.
I think every month we're going to get a new one. But Keith, nice. Are you big into film noir? You like film noir?
I do like film noir. Yeah, I was actually going to ask. I don't have any of these Kino sets. I've seen them come out for a while, but yeah, I mean, I have like the Columbia Noir stuff from Indicator, and yeah, a bunch of Criterion Noirs, and yeah, I'm definitely a fan.
What are some of your favorites?
Some of my favorite. I mean, Detour's great.
Yeah.
Really enjoy Detour. I really like. Oh my gosh, Maltese Falcon's always a classic. I really like In a Lonely Place. I guess that would be considered. You could consider that a noir, I suppose. Yeah. Any of those bogey movies. I just watched Deep Cover last night, more neo noir, but that was really awesome. Pretty darn dark. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to spitball right off the top.
Dude,
of my head,
I know.
There's so many.
I threw it on you. I know.
Yeah. It was very
you blindsided
very
me.
blindsiding.
Look, let's not talk about Sandra Bullock movies, okay? Let's
Oh man,
the blind
no,
side.
let's talk about it. Let's talk
She's
about it.
But yeah, there's many.
She has a new movie out, guys. It's the Lost City.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Lost City.
Yeah.
Lost City.
Called Romancing the Stone.
Part
2022. But I'm actually a big fan of Sandra Bullock. Don't ask me why. I've always been a big
Speed.
fan.
I mean, Speed's enough.
Speed's great.
Speed's enough
90s
to
work
get
is
you in the
great.
fan club. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she was
Yeah.
in, she was in Speed, of course. What's Demolition Man?
Yeah.
She's great in
Was
Demolition
it
Man.
28
Yeah.
weeks later or 28 weeks?
Yeah,
something.
she's in
28 weeks.
that.
Yeah,
Was it
yeah,
28
yeah.
days? No,
20. No, it's not the zombie
28 days. I think it's 28 days.
movie. I don't know.
The Net.
Yeah, of course.
The Net. Let's not
Oh,
forget The Net.
Guys, let's not forget the Lake House.
I was just gonna say her collaborations with Keanu. Lake
Yeah,
House.
come on, guys.
I'm a big
forget-
fan of Sandra Bullock.
No, I like
I liked her
Sandra Bullock.
comedies. She's a very versatile actress, very good actress. I think she's still
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. I don't know how we got on a Sandra
We know
Bullock train here.
you're in love with her. You're in love with her. I
of
can
course.
tell.
Who isn't? Who isn't? But back to film noir. There's so
What a segue.
much. Yeah, get back on track soon. There's so much film noir out there available now that it's almost really tough to get everything. Like I was just looking not only at these sets, which are really good. You know, if people like Keith haven't delved into these sets yet, they're worth getting because they're affordable and the films look good. And the films aren't all great. Like these aren't like high class film noirs. These aren't Double Indemnity, Maltese Falcon, you know, Laura. This all this kind of classic high film noir that we all know. But there's so much within that genre that's probably unseen. That's solid stuff. And they are re-releasing Volume 1. So for those of you who didn't get a chance to get Volume 1, it's going to be re-released, I guess, coming back in print. Because that's one of the last things we talked about when we talked about Kino. So they're going to have, so many of those sets available. I still have to catch up. And there's other noir sets from other companies. We talked about Columbia Noir, which is coming out with their number 5 box set really soon in June. And then just so much out there. But
Well,
moving on,
I was gonna say
yeah.
Imprint's been.
oh yes,
Oh yeah.
with
that
their neo-noir
90s
set.
neo that 90s neo noir set, which I still think is amazing because of just how unprecedented it is to get all of those movies together like that. There's so much noir to go around. But moving on from there is not something that's so much noir as something that's very fascinating to me. And this is a Boris Karloff 5-film collection box set. And this is part of a series of movies all called Mr. Wong, essentially. Mr. Wong Detective. So you got Mr. Wong Detective, The Mystery of Mr. Wong in Chinatown, The Fatal Hour, and it looks like Doomed to Die is the last one here. And I'm guessing all of these star Boris Karloff?
I think
No, I
that's
think the
right.
first 3 do.
No.
No, first 4. No, they all do.
Man, come on, man, get it right.
Yeah, because
They
I'm
all
looking
say,
at the
they
'cause
all
I'm looking
say
at the
Boris
post-
Karloff on every poster.
Yeah, I was saying I'm looking at the posters and I'm like, you know what's throwing me off is they're dressing up Boris Karloff as if he was, an Asian actor, and it's really throwing me off because they're giving him the mustache and look and just whitewashing him to death because Boris Karloff doesn't look anything like
But
a
the
person
thing
from that
is-
continent at
The
all.
thing is each artwork looks a little different. Like he looks a little different in each of them. Like like the mustache is a little different, or he doesn't. It's not as prominent, or it's
The
like
one where he looks the most as if they're trying to make him be a quote unquote Mr. Wong is the Fatal Hour. Have you seen that poster? Is
Yeah.
that supposed to be Boris Karloff? It looks nothing like him at all.
I don't know.
But
I got
that's
but I'm gonna get this.
it looks fascinating. I mean, if you have the Universal Horror Collection Volume 1 from Shout Factory, that in and of itself is a Boris Karloff box set. So
Yeah.
this kind of goes along with that in the sense that it's more Boris Karloff post when he was the Mummy. So you're getting a lot of kind of more of his career, which is really cool. I'm a big Boris Karloff fan. So if you're a Boris Karloff fan, this is right up your alley. Even, I don't know the quality of these movies. I haven't seen them. So I don't know if they're any good, but they're all from the late 30s and into 1940. And they're all getting brand new 2K Masters.
Ooh, that's good. All right, well that's it for the Kino stuff. We
It
caught
is
up
indeed.
there. We caught up there. So let's move on over to Severin. And so Severin surprised us with some great news.
Yes, talk about another character-centric box set that seems to be on the rage these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love it.
All
I mean,
the rage. Yeah.
And this was one of my favorite sets from last year, and this is the volume 2 of that. And we have the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee Collection, Volume 2. And then also a single release of a film called The Return of Captain Invisible, which just sounds like a character that was maybe in the Mystery Men that they did a one-off movie for or something.
I have seen the movie, so I can definitely tell you about it.
Yeah. It looks insane.
Yeah, I love the artwork on it. It looks fun.
Speaking of artwork, the artwork for the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee looks like it's going to fit perfectly on the shelf next to that first set. The first set was green, and this one is red and black.
So
I think it's always a great color combo, in my opinion. Red and black.
I've always wanted Christopher Lee to play Santa Claus. Yeah,
he could do it too.
he would. He would have.
Do it.
But
he's
Keith,
in. Let me put it this way: he's the bad guy in The Return of Captain Invincible, and that's something. He's like a Dr. Evil type bad guy, like a James Bond bad guy parody. Amazing. Like,
sounds incredible.
But Keith. So starting with the Christopher Lee set, though.
Yes.
Were you able to get the first volume?
I didn't. It was just more of a matter of funds.
Yeah.
But it looks so awesome. I love that green tone that they use for that particular one, and I do love the new look of the set. I'm pretty intrigued by the second set for sure. There are a couple that really look great. Specifically, the Secret of the Red Orchid looks crazy, kind of right up my alley. So kind of a creamy film. Looks awesome.
Are you a fan of Christopher Lee's work? How much of his stuff have you explored?
Yeah, I mean, definitely some like more of the Hammer stuff,
Yeah.
like Devil Rides Out, that type of thing. And obviously Lord of the Rings.
Well, you're talking to the Lord of the Rings fanatic on.
Yeah, I think that was our intro to him a lot, and of course he was in Star Wars too. He hit all the major franchises towards the end.
Gremlins 2 also. Gremlins 2. He's I remember him specifically from Gremlins 2 as a kid. He scared the shit out of me. But he's just so over the top and funny. But yeah, I would say I am a fan. Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so Andrew, any of this stuff, did you get a chance to check it out? I checked out one of these.
Well, I checked out one of them as well because this did drop later in the week. I think this dropped around Thursday or so, or was it Wednesday? I don't remember.
These days all blend together.
They really do. But this is a 7-movie, 6 Blu-ray disc, 1 CD set. So once again, Severin likes to throw in the CD soundtrack in there as one of the discs for one of these sets. They seem to do that quite frequently. I think they did that on the All the Haunts Be Ours. I'm pretty sure there's some CDs in there, or a CD. And so we're getting. I just want to definitely list off these movies before we move past it. Uncle Was a Vampire, The Secret of the Red Orchid, Dark Places. Discs 4 and 5 are Dracula and Son. One is the director's cut, and the other is the U.S. version. So you're getting both versions of that movie on separate discs. And then disc 6 is Dracula and Son, the original motion picture soundtrack, like I just said. And the last disc, which is disc 7, is Murder Story. So it looks like they're all getting 4K restorations, actually most of them are getting 4K restorations, and then it looks like Uncle Was a Vampire and Secret of the Red Orchid are getting 2K restorations. The only movie I got to see was Uncle Was a Vampire in a terrible English dub version. Luckily on this, I'm pretty sure this one's going to be hopefully in the original Italian. That would be really nice. Because English dubs, for me, Steven, I can't do them anymore. Because they're just... Unless it's supposed to be an English dub, like a lot of the Italian horror films are supposed to have kind of questionable English dubbing. They're kind of rough for me to get through. And it's supposed to be a horror comedy, but it wasn't really that funny. It was kind of silly. And the quality I watched it in wasn't that great. The premise of it was fascinating to me, though. Basically, there's this guy who is, I guess, part of this long lineage of people who own castles or whatever, like a rich, aristocratic family, and he's kind of a bumbling idiot, and he ends up selling his castle for money and they turn it into a hotel, but they decide to hire him as like the bellboy. but then he gets a letter from his uncle who wants to come visit, and his uncle just happens to be Christopher Lee, and he's a vampire, and the zaniness kind of ensues because then Christopher Lee like turns him into a vampire, and then they're going around like attacking different guests at the hotel, and kind of wackiness and physical comedy ensues from there. It's a fascinating movie, and I feel like this box set and the first box set just have an eclectic group of, Christopher Lee's work in it, because it's got a little stuff that he was doing in sometime during the Hammer era, and then like the last movie in this box set is from 1989. So you're getting such a wide gamut of his work.
Yeah. I got a chance to check out Dark Places.
Oh, how was it?
That one looked interesting.
Yeah. It's about this man who inherits this old house that is at the same time being this couple who are robbers are trying to rob, like that. There's the stash of money in the house somewhere, and they're trying to figure out where it is. But at the same time, like, because one of the robbers is a female, and she's like kind of like, cozying up to the new owner so that she can get inside the house and like look for it. And then at the same time, the twist is that the house is haunted. So like, you're dealing with haunted house shit going on while somebody's trying to rob the house, and it's like the house is protecting it, and it's kind of a weird combination of things. But Christopher Lee plays kind of one of the robbers. So really, ultimately the real star, like Robert Hardy, who you would know from like the Harry Potter films in more modern times. He was what's his name? He was the professor they got later on in the series to be the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. The one they visited his house and they had to convince him because he was.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. That's Robert Hardy.
Wow.
I'm blanking on the character's name, but.
Oh, I know who the actor is. He's in a bunch of Mike Lee's works.
Yeah. But he plays the new owner, and he's just baffled by what's going on. Just shit happening all over the house. He doesn't know what's happening. It's definitely probably going to be one of the better films in the set.
Yeah, I think the actor you're talking about is Jim Broadbent.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Maybe I don't know what Robert Hardy played. I thought he was in a Harry Potter movie, but maybe I'm thinking. Yeah, he is in Harry Potter movies.
Oh.
He plays the Cornelius Fudge. That's who he plays.
Oh.
He plays the Ministry
Cornelius
of
Fudge
Magic.
he was like the Prime Minister.
The Minister.
Yeah, the Minister of Magic, and
Magic,
he's the one who like doesn't believe that Voldemort's back or whatever, and he's trying to deny it, and then they show up at the end. It's like he looks right at Voldemort. He goes, "He's back."
He's back.
And then I always say, like, yeah, no shit. No shit.
Dumbass. I've been saying this for 2 movies.
Yeah, I know. Like, Dumbledore is like the most respected wizard in the whole wizarding world, has been saying he's back, and then people are like, no, he's not. No, he's not.
That's how it goes, man.
Not until he's turned it up at the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah. But yeah, Dark Places is definitely good, and I can't wait to see it in a more cleaned up version. Just like anything we try to watch before one of these episodes, typically we're watching them in very low grade versions, and
the quality in which a lot of these movies that we talk about, from Severin, from Vinegar Syndrome, even some of the Indicator stuff that we talk about as well. The quality of some of these movies is
we got to see the forest through the trees, because they're
like
not
bad. Like it makes you appreciate what these companies are doing so much more. Like they are doing extraordinary work to make these movies look 100 times better, 1,000,000 times better. We were recently on the podcast, on the Indicator Cast podcast, a couple of days ago on their newest episode.
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about the movie Pastor Hall, and it was a movie that like. When we covered it on this show, I couldn't find it, and I was able to find it in time for their podcast. And the quality in which I was watching it in was so bad, but the movie is so good that I'm so glad that this is coming out in a better quality, because people should probably be watching this movie. And a lot of people won't watch movies these days if the quality is so bad, because we're in a day and age where movies look so amazing that they're automatically turned off by a movie if it's not in great quality. aesthetically.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yep. Well, over to the other release we have.
Yes.
So you said you watched Return of the
Return
Captain
of
Invisible.
of Captain Invincible.
Yeah.
So Captain Invincible is this character portrayed by Alan Arkin, of all people.
I can't see. I can't
Love
see
him.
it. It's hard to see it.
You
I only
know what
see
it
him
is?
as the old.
It doesn't. It
grumpy
makes sense when
guy.
you watch the movie. He's basically playing like this combination of Superman and Captain America, and basically during World War II, he was this the superhero going around fighting for the good guys and taking down Nazis and all this kind of stuff. And then what ends up happening is that after the war, he ends up getting caught up in that whole the House Un-Americans committee and just people being accused of being communists and all that kind of stuff. And he ends up being accused, and I think they use like some real archive footage from Joe McCarthy to like railroad him and stuff. And he ends up basically going into seclusion and hiding and just going away because his name just gets run through the mud. And then, decades and decades later, this guy shows up, Christopher Lee, who's his nemesis, and he's trying to do like bad stuff. So they need a hero to come back and save the world, and they're trying to get him out of retirement. And basically, he's kind of like a derelict drunk now who doesn't really. He needs to relearn how to use his powers and relearn to become a hero, and he's like an alcoholic and stuff. And it's just fascinating kind of comedy, like part terrible low budget action movie. It's like I said, it's campy. Think of like the special effects from like Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. That's the type of effects they're doing in this movie, and it's not good.
Why would you bring that
Alan
up?
Arkin's great though. And
Yeah.
Christopher Lee's also hamming it up as this bad guy, Dr. Evil type person. Yeah,
I was gonna say,
he's called Mr. Midnight. Is Christopher Lee's character?
Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Midnight.
it kind of sounds like, like I agree. Like it sounds like Austin Powers definitely took something from this, and then also like even The Incredibles. The idea that the main hero kind of like goes away for a while and then has to come back and he's out of shape and he has to kind of come back and relearn when somebody that he wronged from the past, comes back and is ready to, create problems again. So it sounds fascinating. I like, some of the early superhero stuff is some of the most fascinating stuff because they weren't looking at it the way that they look at it now.
Yeah, and the irony, and what is interesting is this came out in 1983, and it's, of course, post Christopher Lee, post Christopher Reeve's Superman films. I think by this point you've already had Superman the movie, you already had Superman 2, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you had Superman 3 yet, but it feels like it's a parody of that to a certain extent, especially with, Captain Invincible. It kind of, if you look at him, he even has the hair of Superman.
Well, we never got, maybe he was supposed to be cast as Superman. Maybe that's an early casting rumor that we didn't hear about. And then he was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do the damn parody.
I couldn't tell you, but Superman 3 did come out in 1983, so it came out the same year.
Yeah.
But this is a 3-disc set. And you get the first disc. The first disc has the theatrical cut. The second disc has the director's cut, and the third disc is a CD soundtrack. Because the music is actually quite good in the movie as well. And it looks like you're getting a bunch of interviews and stuff. I'm assuming all new stuff. And you're getting. Oh yeah, Christopher Lee sings in the movie. There's a musical component to this movie. Whoa. I forgot to mention that he sings this whole song, like "Name Your Poison." Look at this is. Yeah, he sings in the movie. You can look up just that scene. You can actually watch this whole movie on YouTube right now if you're really curious out there and you want to watch it. It's on YouTube. Yeah, it's a wild movie. I forgot there was a whole musical component to it. That kind of left my brain. But yes, there are people like Alan Arkin is singing in the movie. Whether they dub his voice over, I don't know. But I know Christopher Lee, I think, was in a metal band back in the day.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, I'd heard something about that.
He was a big metalhead. He was one of the coolest people I think ever.
God, he has to be.
Yeah.
What a badass.
He's done everything. What's funny is I was listening to the Severin podcast, that where they really delve in, with Andrew Furtado and David Gregory over there. So they talked about all this stuff, of course, and every time they go through each of the Christopher Lee movies, they did a quote about how Christopher Lee would describe the movie, what he thought about each movie, these movies that he did. And it's funny, like when they talk about the Dracula stuff, he's like, look, I wasn't playing Dracula in this movie. These are not Dracula movies, even if they call me Dracula. It's like, like especially Vampire and Son, like he's like, I was not playing Dracula in that movie. It's wrong if you think that.
Well,
was playing
also
another...
probably copyright too.
Well, no, but like, he's such a thespian.
Yes.
When he was playing in the Dracula movies that were really Dracula movies, where he's like, really playing into that character, that's what he considers to be Dracula. But these movies are kind of like vampire movies where they basically make him look like Dracula. But he there's a distinction for him. So he's being a very much of an actor. And he's like, look, I was not playing Dracula here. Okay.
Yeah, and there's also the whole typecasting thing, which still happens now, where if someone plays such an iconic role, they're only they'll be synonymous with that forever. Yeah. And Christopher Lee says with Dracula, where he played Dracula so many times, and all those Hammer movies and whatnot, that he was just synonymous with it. Probably just so as much as Bela Lugosi, they're probably two of the most well-known people who've ever played Dracula.
Yeah.
But the return of Captain Invincible, this whole kind of cements this whole Severin, slate as being very Christopher Lee centric, which is never a bad thing.
No,
and these both come out in May, I believe.
Yep, end of May. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, lastly, in the sense of slates, we have. We do have a last segment here that I didn't even bring up at the beginning of the show because I'm a terrible host.
You're preoccupied, busy.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm a little scatterbrained. I went from doing one thing to doing this, and I apologize for my. I've mellowed out throughout the episode, but to start this episode, I was really crazy,
frantic.
But, so I'm
frantic
apologizing right now.
Well, it's appropriate now that we're getting into more of the frantic zone. With Vinegar Syndrome.
Well, before we do that, I do want to mention real quick, after this last segment, we are going to do one more segment with our man here where we talk about our favorite fictional bands. So stay tuned for that. Please don't end the episode when we start to do this last slate and be like, well, that's it. No, we got one more segment to do.
We do.
But yes, so Vinegar Syndrome, we got a couple more releases from them proper, and then we got a whole slate of partner label stuff. So where do you want to start, Andrew?
Let's start with Vinegar Syndrome proper because it's a shorter slate to get through. And I guess we'll start right at the top with Death Wish 2.
It's a biggie.
That is a biggie.
It is a biggie because this is coming, I think, 8 years after the original Death Wish, which I think was 1974, and this is 1982. So they decided to revive Death Wish after so many years, and I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, which it really doesn't often do these days, this is part of the Canon Film Group of movies, pretty sure Death Wish 2 and its subsequent sequels, because there are a total of 5 Death Wish films starring Charles Bronson, and then, of course, we got the 6th movie, which is a remake of the original with Bruce Willis from a couple of years ago. And so this is Death Wish 2, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie, but it's very similar to the first movie.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah.
Same here, yeah.
So, but we've got Charles Bronson back as Paul Kersey, the character from the first film, and he, basically what ends up happening to him again is his family gets attacked again. This time, sadly, one of his family members dies.
Is this like a Die Hard 2 situation where he's just like,
yes, it's exactly
how many
what you're
times
thinking.
can this happen?
Yeah,
like it's Christmas
the exact
again.
same thing happens again. A group of delinquents.
Jeez.
This time, the first film I think wasn't Jeff Goldblum. I think was part of the group of people. The second one, one of the group of people is Lawrence Fishburne.
Jesus,
is one of them.
Whoa. Crazy.
and what happens is one of his family members gets attacked. This time they die. Well, actually, one died in the first film. Spoiler alert.
Well, funny enough, connection. You just watched Deep Cover, and both of them are
I
in
was
it.
just about to bring that up.
Lawrence
Yeah.
Fishburne, there you go.
Yeah.
Coming up again.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And what happens is he goes on a vengeance rampage and tries and tracks them down and starts murdering them.
Does he get arrested at the end of the movie?
I'm not gonna say anything. I'll just say
Obviously, he
It's-
doesn't. He's
apparently
fucking
the
3 more
score of the
movies.
movie was composed by Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin.
That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
Reading that
Interesting.
right there.
That's cool.
One of probably my second favorite band of all time. Speaking of, I guess, real life bands.
Yeah.
And this is
awesome.
getting a 4K restoration from the original camera negative. The first film hasn't gotten that deluxe treatment, I don't think. And the first film is probably the best in the franchise. I've only seen the first two, but I'm assuming it's the best because
yeah.
Canon wasn't into making quality; they were into making entertainment. That was their
Yes.
thing.
That's a nice way of putting it.
They did. Speaking of Superman 4: Quest for Peace, they were the brains behind that film as well.
Yeah.
And
Killed that
that's-
franchise.
Yeah. And this is a 4K, and this is actually a 4K release.
Actually,
this-
you know what? Let me
Yeah.
take that back. That didn't kill the franchise. Unfortunately, the unfortunate accident with Christopher Reeves killed that franchise.
Well, I think by the time his accident come around, I think they were moving on to
Did they?
because he got
that was like
his accident was in the
mid-90s, I
90s.
think, right?
By
Oh,
that
was it?
point,
Okay.
by that point they going back to Nick Cage again. They were working on that Nick Cage.
Yeah.
And
Superman Lives.
that shit can still
Wish it
happen,
could've been a
guys.
thing.
Come on.
Oh, that documentary is amazing. About that, how close they were to making that movie.
Look.
There's a documentary about it?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Superman.
The death of Superman Lives. What happened?
happened?
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah,
Love that.
It's amazing.
Okay.
It goes into all the background of how how close they got to making that movie, how the suit really looked, and not the crappy Google Images one that we've all seen, and just the concept of that whole movie. Tim Burton was going to do that. He was working on a Catwoman movie at the same time.
Wow.
Wasn't Kevin Smith wrote the script?
He wrote
Didn't
like one of the first.
one of the
he wrote like
drafts.
the second draft or second
Yeah,
script
yeah.
for that movie. That was the famous one where John Peters was the producer of that movie, and John Peters wanted some type of
Was it like
spider
a
or
spider?
something.
Yeah, it was like a big spider.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
like-
and then he ended up producing Wild Wild West, which at the end of the movie, it's a giant
put it in
mechanical
that.
spider.
He got his big spider in
That's
there.
right. That's right.
If you've seen, for those of you listening out there, if you've seen the movie, the current PTA movie, Paul Thomas Anderson movie, Licorice Pizza, Bradley Cooper plays John Peters as this wild and insane person. That is exactly who John Peters is. If you've seen him do interviews, wildly accurate, accurate. But moving back here, so Death Wish 2 is a 4K release, and the next we got a movie called Flesh Eater, which is also getting a 4K release.
Wow.
This movie's
I watched this one.
did you watch
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And I say wow because of what I watched, and it's getting a 4K. Like I can't
couldn't-
believe this is getting a 4K.
Yeah, this is a low budget film.
Yeah.
But what is curious and interesting about this movie is that the director of the movie, who is S. William Hinsman, is the first zombie that shows up in Night of the Living Dead at the cemetery at the beginning of that movie. That's that actor. And he directed this movie, and this movie is kind of his version of Night of the Living Dead.
I was gonna say, watching this whole movie, I was like, this is like an in color version. Not as like the story's not as good as Night of the Living Dead,
No.
obviously, but it's definitely you could feel that they had watched Night of the Living Dead and were very inspired. And though this is not a great movie, I think this was a fun watch, to be honest. Like,
I'll say, what
yeah.
I was impressed with the most? The zombie murder scenes.
Yeah.
Were really gruesome, and the like makeup work was really good.
So some of them were obvious. Like there was one where this guy, like he comes up behind this girl who was naked, and he
I'm good. That's the same one I was thinking of.
Of
Where he
course,
puts,
because it's
puts the
amazing.
hand through the chest
yeah.
from the back. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I for a second I thought he was gonna like touch her boob like after he did it, like he was gonna like poof, and then like put his hand on her boob and touch it, but he didn't. So I was like,
What
they
is
missed an
odd-
opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, what is odd is that
Very
the way the
tasteful.
zombies
Very
acted.
tasteful, yeah.
Yeah, the way the zombies acted in this movie, they acted like they still had like human instincts left in them.
Yeah.
Because during that scene, for no reason other than the fact that it's the 1980s and we need to have nudity in our movies, the zombie rips the clothes off of the woman for no reason. And it's like a zombie wouldn't think to do that. A human
They would just go for the
think to do
first part of flesh.
Well, the thing is, he's
right.
already like eaten the hurt as well. Like, because zombies eat human flesh. That's already happened, but then proceeds to rip her clothes off for no reason. For no
These
reason.
are horny. These are horny zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
It's
how it
just
goes.
like they have way too. And then at one point, a zombie like has a pitchfork and stabs someone, and I'm
Yeah.
like, a zombie wouldn't do that.
You know, it's
But-
different versions of zombies, Andrew. Don't be.
Yeah, I know.
Stuck
Don't be
in a box,
discriminating against
okay?
zombies. You know.
Yeah, this is the horny zombies.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, he was he just credited as zombie in Night of the Living Dead, and I believe he's the first one that shows up in that infamous first encounter in Night of the Living Dead, and he's also the main zombie in this movie in Flesh Eater, as well. And his makeup work looks really good. He kind of kicks things off, and he's like turning people into zombies throughout the movie. It's entertaining for what it is. It's a little rough at first, because it's low budget and and the acting's terrible and the dialogue's terrible. But if you just watch it from an entertainment standpoint, just wanting to see zombies murder just dumb, pointless characters you don't give a damn about,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
Flesh
Keith,
Eater.
are you interested in this? And what's your love for zombie films?
I mean, I like zombie movies. I wouldn't say that they're like my favorite horror subgenre, but I definitely love the kind of the classic of the Dead movies from Romero and Zombie by Fulci and things like that. So I mean, I like kind of that sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm mixed on it. I probably won't check this one out if I'm being fully on it. I would watch it, but I won't buy it.
Well,
kind of thing.
it's on. Was it on Tubi? I think it's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's on
Tubi's got
Tubi.
everything.
Yeah. So if you really
Yeah.
wanted to check it out, I believe it was on Tubi.
Yeah, you can watch it
Yeah.
for the price of free
Yeah.
if you have an internet connection.
with
That is
advertisements.
my favorite.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll take that.
I think the zombie genre in and of itself is definitely on the down.
It's
the
played
downward
out.
time
It's
now
definitely
again.
played out. I
It-
mean,
yeah.
finally,
Yeah.
Walking Dead's going to end after 11 seasons. I mean, it's
Well, yeah, Walking Dead kind of brought it back up to prominence, and then now it's dipped back down in terms of
Yeah.
popularity. Same thing with vampires as well. Vampires are kind of down a little bit now when it comes to mainstream movies and television and stuff and popularity. It just they seem to come and go, those subgenres of movies.
I think cannibalism is like probably my absolute least favorite horror subgenre. So,
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah. How many? It's like Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Holocaust, Jungle Holocaust. I mean, it's like all the it's like they're all the same movie basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like I say, this is a 4K release. These are all coming out in April, I believe. But Flesh Eater did get a Blu-ray release back in 2010 from a company called Shriek Show, which I know nothing of, but that's long out of print,
Yeah.
obviously.
Very small company. Yeah.
Yes.
They didn't do much.
No, they didn't. But
Yeah.
moving on from there, Steven, we have a movie called Alien Private Eye. This is not getting a 4K release for obvious reasons. You can watch this movie on YouTube right now, and it's a VHS rip. And my esteemed people who are here with me, I'm closing my eyes now.
well. I was going to say,
Because
are you okay, Andrew?
The quality,
Yeah.
the quality of it was so horrific. I was telling Steven before the show, this was almost the movie that broke me of watching,
Wow.
because I was like, it's so terrible. This is a movie I thought it was a student film because it felt like it had that much of a budget.
Wow. I mean, it's a great title.
It is a great
You know?
title, and there's this guy who wears these great hats. But the description of it on paper seems so good. I'm trying to even like succinctly say what the plot of this movie is, but basically, like, aliens have sent down this disc that has this certain information on it, and then other aliens want to get it, but but other aliens don't want them to have it because of the information on it has some type of formula for some type of drug on it, and it's.
It sounds. It sounds
I
like
gotta
they
find.
tried really hard.
Because like they wrote a whole paragraph, and there's not a paragraph's worth of information for this movie. It's definitely one of the lowest budgeted films I've ever seen Vinegar Syndrome put out through their main line, and it was shockingly so to the point where I don't know how they can make this movie look good.
I don't know. I'm looking at the stills here, and the stills look like it looks solid.
They probably did a lot of.
They must have done a lot of work, man.
A lot of workman's work. So
I mean, do you think that would change your perspective seeing it like in Blu-ray?
It's not good. The soundtrack in it is awesome, though. That's ironic.
Okay.
And so the premise of this is an alien sent to Earth to retrieve a drug that was sent here on a black disc. Don't ask me how. Has to fight her racist enemies who are also on Earth to search for the drug. But the main person who like tries to help her is also an alien as well. So he kind of gets caught up in all of this, and the movie's an hour and a half, and it feels like an hour and a half. And like the special effects are terrible, the acting's terrible. Like I said, the plot's bad. It's not even like it wasn't even fun to watch. Like I was telling Steven, like we watched Miami Connection last week for the show.
So good.
And it is so much more entertaining than this.
I love that movie.
It's so much more entertaining. Like let me watch that movie again because at least it was entertaining. This is just not. It wasn't my thing. It really wasn't at all. It is available, like I said, on YouTube, in VHS quality, legitimate VHS quality, to the point where it's so low quality on there that the faces are blurred because it's so pixelated, and you couldn't even like make things out. But I watched it just for the show here.
Thank you, Andrew.
It wouldn't be one I would buy.
Trooper.
Like for this, it really isn't. So after that, Steven, is there another one here?
Yes. It's called Stiff
It's
Competition.
a Peakorama. Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely this is okay. Look, let me put it to you this way. The description here says athletes are gearing off for an annual suck-off competition.
Yeah, I saw
that
that
tells
here.
you everything.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, this is what we like
Yeah.
to. This isn't. Is this? I
I'm assuming this is basically a porn.
It's an adult.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this an adult film,
adult
softcore or something? It is getting a 4K release, so
Let's get a 4K release, guys.
it is getting a 4K release. Yeah, so that's pretty much what you need to know about that movie. It is an adult film,
Yeah,
which Vinegar Syndrome has. They put out
Yeah,
many of these
yeah.
before. It's not out of their
Right.
realm of stuff they put out.
No.
Not at all.
Nothing wrong with a good adult film.
Oh
I
no,
just don't know
no!
if I'm
There's
gonna-
no judgment here
I
whatsoever.
just don't know if I'm going to pay $32.99 for that.
Well, I just want to
Sorry.
make people listening to the show. I want them to be made aware that is what what this is,
Yeah.
and so they're not like blindsided. Oh, what's that? That's
You don't
what
want to
it
see
is.
who wins the competition, or
Is it just like was the competition so hard that they got tight? Like it was too much.
Yeah.
What is- Yeah, what it says here, it says one of the last hurrahs for the hardcore theatrical era. Paul Vitelli's Stiff Competitions is a snappily paced sex farce boasting an all-star cast, headlined by several actors and actresses from, I guess, several movies at the time, because a lot of people don't realize this. In the 70s and into the 80s, the adult entertainment, they produced full-length feature films that had hardcore sexual things in it. If you watch the movie Boogie Nights, you'll get a glimpse of that.
The new
a
movie,
fictional glimpse.
Yeah, and that new movie X kind of plays into that a little bit too, where the main characters are trying to make it like a real legit like sex porn film that was
Yes.
like a real movie, not just like a scene. Like it was like,
No,
right,
these were
yeah.
full-length films,
Yeah.
With stories and-
and characters, and this movie's a 95-minute long film. It's feature length, and when we,
God.
Stephen, when we talked with Bill Lustig on the infamous episode where we don't have the audio for that.
That you never saw. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying
shucks.
he was part of that industry early on in his career, and he talked about the reasons why he was in it is because it was, like I said, a full-on film set, film cameras, all of the equipment, all of the experience you got in filmmaking was from there and whatnot. So yeah, there's no shade against that industry at all. It's still a prominent money-making industry to this day in whatever form it's taken, whether it's, it's more digital now and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a massive industry for several reasons. There's still a market for it. But it's just interesting releasing these old films. You get to see, kind of a bygone era, if you will. So that is that. So we're moving on now to the partner labels.
Oh, wait. Before we go on, there's a very important thing here that they're selling, a translucent slipcover prototype.
Oh, my goodness. Was that was an April Fool's Day joke, I hope.
I believe so. I believe.
They were charging like $6 for.
Yeah.
I don't know if people bid on that. Also, if you tried to buy that, were they like,
was it just going to be a box with nothing in it?
Yeah, but I'm like, would you get all the way to the checkout process and be like, and then would they tell you like, yeah, we're not selling you this?
I don't know. I didn't try. I kind of am curious to try now.
Or would it just be like a $6 donation to a charity or something?
I don't know. I didn't try. Good idea, but
yeah.
But I thought that was funny that they still have that on there. Just a guy holding nothing.
Just the hand that you see that holds up the Blu-rays. It's just a hand of nothing.
It's amazing.
Oh, it is still on there. Actually.
It is.
Nice.
It's still on their site. Yeah, that's. I think I saw Justin Liberty or somebody talk about how it is actually a real thing. So I don't know, but it's certainly it's on their site still.
No, it is. It is, and it's available for pre-order.
I'm still confused by it. Regardless.
Oh, me too.
So. It's weird.
They do have, some merchandise as well, some new merchandise.
Yeah, I kind of want that tote bag. That tote bag's pretty nice.
Oh, the one with the reel on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a film reel on it. I'm surprised they didn't put that on a shirt, because that would be great on a shirt.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on over to the partner labels, which, there's tons of partner labels.
There always is.
Yeah, and so let's, I'll run them down. I'll run down the titles real quick.
Okay.
We got Beauty Day from Circle Collective. We have Born to Win from the big stars of the partner labels, I would say, Fun City Editions. We have Burglar from Hell, which is an amazing title. Saturn Core. We have from Altered Innocence, which is another one of my favorite partner labels. We have a double feature here: The Islands of Jan Gonzalez and You and the Night. And then we also have from Yellow Veil, They Look Like People. We have from TerraVision, we have Love and Saucers. We have The Mob from Canadian International Pictures. We have Mother Schmuckers from Dark Star. We have from Factory 25, Other Music. We have from the Decalogue. I can never say this one.
Yeah, Decalogue,
I think.
Take Me Somewhere Nice. From Culture Shock, we have Video Murders. And then lastly, from Agfa and Bleeding Skull, we have Wicked World. So, a lot of stuff here. A lot of interesting stuff. I did watch a few of these. I did watch a couple of these.
Oh, you did? I got
cool.
through a couple myself.
Keith, anything here stand out? Anything you did get a chance to look at or are aware of? Or
there were a few things. I'm a big Fun City guy.
Yeah.
So Born to Win was a no-brainer. So I'm pretty excited to see that. And I like George Siegel, and I think he'll be really good in that. But I did write down 3. Other Music looked really cool. Just kind of a documentary about a New York City record store that had closed down after I assume maybe pandemic related. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't read too much into it, but it looked really cool. Beauty Day looks insane. It looks like a really fun documentary about the guy who's basically like the original Johnny Knoxville, more or less. And then the Love and Saucers just sounds weird.
It does.
Documentary about the guy who thinks he's had a lot of alien encounters. And,
that one I really wanted to watch before this, but I didn't get a chance to. But that does look very out there. I did get a chance to watch Born to Win, and I think Andrew did as well. And it's worth it. It's another freaking win for
it's on YouTube right now for anyone who wants to watch
it. It's on Amazon for free as well. So Amazon has it.
Where did I watch? Yeah, I watched it on. But watch out when you watch Born to Win, because the ones that are available out there right now for free are in the wrong aspect ratio. They're in 133 to 1, and the original aspect ratio I think is 185 to 1 or something like that. So obviously this is going to be in the correct aspect ratio, but once again, it's another no pun intended win for Fun City Editions. And yeah, it's if you like 1970s gritty, kind of pessimistic films, because that seemed to be it was a very pessimistic era of cinema history for American cinema, I think, in general. It's definitely worth your time. If you like the gritty 1970s New York from like Taxi Driver, that's the type of New York feel you get. George Segal is I think he's an ex-hairdresser, but he's also addicted to I think it's heroin.
It is. Yeah.
And he's just kind of trying to get his next fix by any means necessary. He kind of works for like a couple of the local drug dealer gangster type folks, and he does stuff that
it gave me a very much vibes of what the guys what's their names,
the Safdie brothers.
Safdie brothers, yeah.
Very
Safdie
it has very
brothers.
Uncut Gems type feel of like this guy who can't stop screwing up because he's because of an addiction. And Karen Black is in the film as well, who is a great actress. And we talked about her once upon a time when we talked about 5 Easy Pieces. We did a whole episode on that back on the Cinema Discovery Project days. She was a fantastic actress, sadly passed away in 2013. I didn't realize it was that long ago. And yeah, she's great in the film as kind of like this random woman he meets and kind of starts dating by happenstance. They have great chemistry together, great dialogue in the movie. At one point, a very young Robert De Niro shows up as a cop, of all things. And he still has like I don't know, this early Robert De Niro had this very New York accent, and it's very prominent in this movie. Steven, at one point, did you catch a very young Burt Young?
I did. There was the scene with the mob, one of the mob guys.
Yeah, and they're beating him up, and one of the guys who's beating him up is Burt Young. I was like,
and then the guy that he owes money to, he stole money from, tells him to take off all, tells George Segal to take off all his clothes, and so he's like undressing, and Burt Young's just standing there kind of smirking, like just like this is hilarious, like, and then he gets down to his boxers and he's like, all of it, the guy's like, oh, shit, but yeah, Burt Young just popping up in the movie too. Yeah, it feels like a lot of them guys all kind of like jumped in and out of each other's movies, like any New York guy they were filming in New York, somebody would probably ask a favor, say, hey, will you play in this one scene, Yeah,
and this is this is Robert De Niro before he was known at all. Like, this is him. I think at that time he was doing films with
De Palma?
Yeah, Brian De Palma. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's a whole Brian De Palma, like early Brian De Palma box set out there, Blu-ray box set, I think, from a couple of years ago that I always wanted to get and I never got, but it had, I think, a lot of the collaborations between him and Robert De Niro. And yeah, this is obviously pre-Godfather, pre-Taxi Driver, nearly a decade before Raging Bull. This would be before Mean Streets. That's how young we're talking here.
Wow.
And he's in the movie, and he's really, really good.
Well, I mean, it's not a lot. He's not.
Yeah, he doesn't have much to work with, but man, he's pretty
he's
good.
Still Robert De Niro. Yeah.
There was a movie. There was a trivia thing here on IMDb that said something about him, where it says right here, I don't know if this is true. This is one of the IMDb things, so take it for what it is. According to Ivan Passer, who was the director, Robert De Niro was nearly fired many times throughout shooting. A devoted Stellar Adler student, he would do things to exceptionally define his secondary character that would draw attention away from the leads. Stellar Adler is that famous school for method acting. Yeah. So, so apparently he was overdoing it for a role where he didn't really have anything to do other than some few lines and being like a cop, kind of like roughing people up.
So basically, he was like the comedic version of an actor that was really trying too hard, like we see in other movies, where they're like somebody's just like overdoing it, like they're trying to do more than their role's asking for, and they're just
Yes.
he's just that's what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
I wish I could have been there for that.
So could I. But that's Born to Win. Highly recommend this.
Yeah.
Fun City Edition is, I don't think they've missed yet, in my opinion. All the stuff I've seen. I know, Steven, you're going to get this because you got Fun City Complete.
It's because I have to. I have to do it. But no,
Gotta
it's
do
good.
it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. The other one I saw was They Look Like People.
I saw that too. Saw that.
Copier. You son of a bitch.
Saw that last night. This is streaming on Shudder. They Look
Yeah.
Like People. And this is a relatively newish film from, I want to say 2015. Okay. Not as new as I thought. But yeah, Steve, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm still combing over in my mind what the movie was trying to say. But I can say that a lot of the images and a lot of the scenes were actually pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's one of those horror films where it's not really horrific. It's hitting on a lot of thematic stuff that's more relevant to real life when dealing with, I think, mental health. It's one of those types of horror films. Even though it kind of sells itself on something, the premise sells itself on something completely different, I felt it to be a lot more, abstract.
Yeah, there was scenes in the frightening moments in the movie were very much like things that I feel like I've had nightmares, where you're looking at somebody, like say you're like particular scene where he's like looking at his friend, and his friends just kind of look at him with like this smile, and you try to talk to him, but he won't change his impression, and the next thing you know, you see something else happening in the distance, but you're not focused on it, but you see it happening, and then it comes towards you, and then that thing attacks, and then your dream's over. Like it's like one of them things where it's like a forced perspective,
Right.
And it's something's going on that you can't interact with, and then it's creepy,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
just,
and for those of you listening, probably have no idea what we're talking about because we didn't tell the premise of the movie.
sure.
So the premise of the movie is there's this character whose name is Wyatt, and he believes that aliens are coming down and transforming into and taking over humans and then transforming them, and then are trying to take over the world. Very much like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Paranoia, stuff like that. But it's played off as if he's kind of has like schizophrenia or some type of other mental psychosis or condition or something like that. And as the movie goes on, he just keeps falling deeper and deeper into it. And it's a slow burn of a film, a very contemplative film. And it's like I said, there's a lot of nightmarish type sequences where you don't know, hey, is this real? Is he making this up? Is he hearing voices in his head? What is going on? And the film keeps you really off kilter, whether it's real or not.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was how they kind of introduced it, because at first you thought the person that was going to be the one with problem was going to be the guy that it was the apartment, like the main guy that owned the apartment, but it was really the friend that shows up into the story that's really the main person that we kind of focus on with the problems. I mean, they both have problems, but
there's also a lot of there's a lot of stress and anxiety type things that are going on with these characters. It's a good movie.
I rather enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people may be disappointed because they're expecting a more straightforward story, and it's definitely not. So I want to warn people about that, because I saw people on Letterboxd saying, I was disappointed, and it's not what I thought it was going to be, and kind of anticlimactic and all this kind of stuff. But it's more contemplative. It's very similar to a lot of what we're seeing with horror genres these days. It feels like a movie from like A24. Like, I'm really surprised it's not an A24 movie.
Could be. Keith, was you able to look into this film at all?
No, I've seen it pop up on Shudder, and that was another one that I was like, oh, I've heard actually good things about this. I think they might have mentioned it on All the Colors of the Dark, that podcast. I think they were talking about that one of the more recent episodes. So it definitely was one that I was like, oh, definitely, yeah, kind of like you were saying, Andrew, just like Invasion of Body Snatchers type of vibe, which I really like that type of thing because it's super. It just gets you just get really in your head about
paranoia,
what's going on.
the paranoia,
very paranoid.
yeah.
Like I love that type of stuff. So yeah, it's one it did look like you were kind of saying like an A24, like very nice, artfully done type of movie. But I haven't seen it yet, but maybe that's what I'll watch tonight.
Do it, man, do it. It's a quick watch too. I think it's only like an hour 20 minutes.
Yeah, hour 25,
okay.
I think.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah,
wonderful.
But when it comes to other releases here. I did get to see Beauty Day, which is streaming on Netflix, on YouTube, and Beauty Day is exactly kind of what Keith was saying. It's a documentary about this guy from Ontario, Canada, where back in the early '90s he was doing like local public access cable TV show where he was just doing ridiculously dangerous stunts, a la Jackass, years and years later, and and it was called the Cap'n Video Show. Ran from 1990 to 1995, and it was just in the show, and he just had a cult following. The guy's name was Ralph Zavadil.
Oh wow!
Yes.
What a name!
What a name! And this guy is a wild guy. He did all kinds of things, dangerous stuff. The documentary starts off, I think his most dangerous stuff, where he ended up crushing like 3 vertebrae in his neck from one stunt that went completely wrong. And you'll see it. It's probably his most famous stunt. But the movie is so inspirational in so many ways because of, kind of like, living with certain reckless freedom and how, open that can be and how fulfilling that can be as a person. But it does have its back draws as well. Like he had an alcohol problem and stuff like that, and just so many things, the personal demons he had to deal with, and ups and downs in his life. It's really fascinating. Look at this person and his life story. Definitely worth a watch. It's 92 minutes long. Came out in 2011. It's streaming on YouTube right now for free. Just look up Beauty Day. And I just love the cover of this.
Yeah,
it's really fun cover. Yeah.
Yeah, you're making me want to watch this.
You would love it. I think you would absolutely.
You should watch
love
the trailer at the very least.
Okay.
The trailer's great. Yeah, that was enough to make me go, okay, this is something I have to see.
Yeah.
It looked really like heartwarming, strangely enough.
And it was. There's so much. I think he has all the archive footage from his show back in the day because he shot it, edited it, and like produced it all by himself. Like he would shoot it like the day of, and then like deliver the tape to the local cable place like by 5 o'clock and they would put it on. And he digs up all of his old cameras, like his old like Panasonic big time video cameras from back in the late 80s, which I know I think my parents had one back in the day where you had to have the actual videotapes and stuff. Just a kind of a blast from the past. It's really, really good.
This has just got historical significance all over it. So I feel like I need to have this.
Yeah, and another documentary here that I think both of you will absolutely love is called Other Music, because you're both music guys. And anyone who loves music, but not only loves music, but loves physical media, which of course is what this show is all about. This movie specifically centers around the love of physical media when it comes to music, CDs, cassettes, vinyl records. But this is a documentary about this store called Other Music that was in New York from 1995 to 2016, and it was just an institution. A famous indie music store, and they would have like local indie bands would perform there. Local indie bands that performed close by would sell their records and their music there. And it's just a movie that's a love of music, love of physical media, and the dying of the small stores that sold these types of things. And it's a really kind of love letter to that. It's a fantastic documentary. I watched it streaming on Canopy, which you can sign up for your local library, if you have a library card, which I don't know if a lot of people do these days.
Damn it.
But either way, this is a great documentary. Just a fantastic documentary.
Awesome.
Yeah, looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything?
check out the trailer if anything.
Yeah. Anything else did you watch?
I gotta look at my.
I was gonna say because I didn't watch anything. Unfortunately, I couldn't get anything else. But
Well, I can tell you that Islands of the Jan Gonzalez box set is from a director that we've covered a little bit of his work here before. He did that movie Knife and Heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think Vinegar Syndrome's put that out.
Yes.
That's where we talked about it, and they so they put that out, and he's a very open filmmaker when it comes to sexuality and putting sex and things on screen. Not shy about that at all. If you've seen Knife and Heart, and his the movie that they're putting out in that box set is a feature film. I think they're also putting out all of his short films. I think are in that that set as well. So I wanted to make people aware of that. Just read the premise for that other film. It's a movie about an orgy. So needless to say, sex on screen.
Cool. Nothing wrong with some orgies.
I know.
All that
coming full
Caligula
circle.
stuff at Severin right now is just making me.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're hitting a certain level of customer. Yeah, the movie You and the Night. Check out the premise for that. I didn't get to watch it. It is, I don't know where it's streaming. Maybe several places.
YouTube is usually the answer to.
Oh no, I think it's streaming like legit, like Tubi or someplace like that.
Okay.
Because I was looking it up and because I was gonna think about watching it, but I went with a bunch of other stuff. No, it's streaming on Canopy. That's where it is. No,
the library.
The library
That's nice.
where
That's
you can just discover anything at the library.
Yes, that's what I love about the library.
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
I think with that, I think we'll go ahead and close out our talk of Blu-rays for this episode. But like I said, before we leave, we are going to talk a little bit. Before we want to delve back into one of our Keith's interests here, which is of course music. And I pitched to him, how about we do, just to kind of float around. We don't have to do a bunch, but each of us kind of go around and talk about some of our favorite fictional bands in film, and there's some really good ones in there, some ones that I think I know me and Andrew we both have a mutual love for. I'm sure there'll be some crossover here, but let's go around and talk about a few and
I came up with a list of like 5, so I guess 5's a good number.
Yeah,
we'll see
or
what we can get.
however many.
Keith, please start us off.
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing. I'm trying to figure out like whether I should go for like my influential pick or my favorite. So I think what I'll do is go for my favorite, and I'm gonna have to say Sex Bomb from Scott Pilgrim's versus the World.
We are Sex Bomb.
We are. I love that soundtrack. Man, they kick ass. They're great. And Clash at Demon Head too, the other band, the rival band. That Metric song is so damn good. I get it stuck in my head all the time. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of fun and it complements the film really well. And I love that they learned how to actually play instruments and to play the songs properly. And you can really tell if you play music, you can tell when people are not playing the instruments properly. So. Kind of it's one of those things that low key kind of drives me nuts. So goes a long way for me.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely one of the. They're the when I brought this up to Andrew, it was the first band I thought of was
it wasn't the band I thought you were going to go with, but I guess I'll go next. Just piggybacking off of that, this may be a far out pick for people, but I'm going to go with it just because why not? We do crazy things here on the show. I'm going to go with the band from the Muppets, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, because they rock pretty damn hard.
Yeah, they do.
You've seen Animal on the drums; he's wailing on them.
He's amazing.
And it's just like, what's better than like the Muppets? With like, when you think Muppets, you think like Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, and all that stuff. But no, they have a full-on rock band full of Muppets, and it's just like that's their thing. That's why they're around, just to rock out and play. And of course, like they're featured in the movies and the TV shows and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought it was just really, really cool. Like they're like the rad, cool '70s rock band that just like is playing like never aged or whatever, and they still have the same talk. They still talk the same way after like 50 years.
Nah. Well,
Yeah, that's a great pick.
yeah, I wouldn't even have thought
Very
of that
great.
actually. That's a good pick. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my favorite out of the way or one of my favorites, because I know one of you is gonna steal it anyway. So I'm gonna bring it up. Almost Famous, Stillwater.
God damn it,
Okay.
Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You knew I wanted it too.
Fever dog scratching that. Yeah, it's great. Having Billy Cruddock's character in the film is just so, he's got that thing about him where he's likable, but you can tell he's a little bit self-involved. I don't have to talk about Almost Famous. Almost Famous is, to me, an all-time great film. And the band's just a band that I would love to go see in real life if I saw them. And they kind of remind me of like a Bad Company. Kind of has that bluesy rock. You got Jason Lee leads the band, and he plays, keyboards, and so it kind of makes me think about Bad Company for some reason. That's the band I go to, but of course they're very influenced by like a lot of bands that were of that time that what's his name, direct Cameron Crowe, went on tour with, whether it be a Led Zeppelin or Allman Brothers or so I'm sure it's a combination of things, but
Yeah, it's
I
an
think,
amalgamation.
I think like Keith said, I think, they did go through a grueling process of trying to learn how to play, specifically like Jason Lee and Billy Crudup went through some training, I think. I don't know that they were maybe like great, but they needed to look like they knew how to play. And I think I mean, what do you think, Keith? I mean,
I think they nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, from what it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember being like, okay, I respect this movie just a bit more because of that. Yeah. I mean, it a little, that effort goes a long way for me for whatever reason, but yeah, no, that's a great pick. I didn't even think about that.
You didn't think of that?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen that movie in like 20 years. Yeah, it's been so long.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm due for a revisit.
You do.
Especially
I'm telling
with
you, man.
that 4K,
Yeah, watch it. Personally, and I'm the crazy one here, but I prefer the original theatrical cut over the director's cut.
Sacrilege.
Personally, I
bootleg
think
cut?
some of that extra stuff is nice, but it doesn't make for as tight of a movie. I think the movie's fine in the original cut. That's just me, guys. I know I'm the crazy one. But yeah, please revisit it and let me know how you feel about it today. Because I have a poster. You can't see it, but I have the original poster over in one corner. So
that's a nice poster.
Yeah. But all right, Keith, tell us another one.
Yeah, let's go for one that was a little bit more influential. There are two, but the one I'm going to go for is the Lone Rangers from Airheads.
Oh, nice.
That's a fantastic one.
I have something to say about that, but you go.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say they don't sell it as far as knowing what they're doing on the drum, like just anything, which is fine, because it's a comedy. I don't care as much, and I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like it was just one of those movies that made like being in a band look fun to me, and I always got really pumped whenever I watched it. It was always on HBO. I feel like back in the 90s. And I don't know. And then there was like a scene where White Zombie's playing at the bar or something. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like I love White Zombies. So it was just kind of like it was all around great. The movie, we watched it. I hadn't seen it since I was a teenager. We watched it like maybe last month, and it still holds up.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think it's a blast, and everyone's great in it. So Airheads is a goofy pick, but that's the one that was like, okay, yeah, I should probably try to do that. That looks really crazy and fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up, because it's a favorite of mine too. And I, though it seems like the band in the movie is kind of influenced probably by like your Guns N' Roses, era, kind of where the later end of metal, or that the late 80s era of metal, but there is a punk vibe to it, just the act of
definitely
the act of what they do in the film, where they just take over a radio station because they want their tape played, is just like is a punk thing, So I think that's cool. And my favorite scene in the movie, by the way, is the scene where Adam Sandler goes out and he's like, the cop's there, and then the cop like mimics his movements, and he just like starts dancing, and then the cop is about to pull the gun. He's like, "Shit!" and like runs back inside. Like that. I love that.
That's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call.
No, so piggybacking off of what you guys were saying about Airheads, so what I wanted to mention, bringing it back to, I guess, Blu-rays and stuff, that Blu-ray for Airheads, which came out in 2013 from Anchor Bay, is now out of print and going for hundreds of dollars.
Jesus.
Insane amount of money.
Yes, and I used to see this thing at so many dirt cheap bargain bins back like a decade ago that, from like 2013 through 2 years after that I just never thought of buying it. And now, someone on Amazon is selling it for $290. Someone on eBay is selling it for $150. The DVD is still available. You can get for much cheaper, but still, that Blu-ray is insanely hard to get, and I don't know why. I think because it stars Anchor Bay, and they really don't put out anything. They were kind of a subsidiary of, at least Anchor Bay, I think for a while was a subsidiary of Disney, but even stars Anchor Bay, they put out some random things here and there. But yeah, someone brought it up on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I was like, wait a minute, that thing was always so cheap. And I went to look. No, it's not. It's impossible to get now. Impossible. Yeah. Hopefully someone listening out there will reissue Airheads, or whoever owns Airheads will put it out again, because $150 is a lot to spend on a Blu-ray. But moving on to my pick is more, I guess, maybe not traditional, but it's School of Rock from School of Rock.
Nice.
Richard Linklater's film. Talk about musicians in movies, I guess, in general. Jack Black, of course, with from Tenacious D. Of course, he's an actor, we all know. But I don't know if I have to explain School of Rock to people, but basically, Jack Black teaches.
I could just do one of their songs for you a cappella right now.
Yeah, Jack Black basically just teaches, young private school kids about rock and roll and forms a band with them. that's the premise of the movie.
Illegally. Yeah,
and it's amazing. It is just amazing. They rock out playing AC/DC songs and listening to Zeppelin, and it's awesome.
It's a movie that has a great message about how music is something that can really bring you together and make you feel seen, and it's just very positive. I love it's that kind of movie that came out with Jack Black's career, where I think he like hit the mainstream really hard after that movie.
The 2000s. Because that came out 2003, I want to say. And Jack Black to this day is still extremely well known. He's still the same exact type of person. Yeah. Like if you see him on like social media and stuff, where he's just like dancing around and all this kind of stuff.
He's still got energy, man, and of course
he has more energy.
I love it.
Than I've ever had in my life. I've never had. He has one energy in like one little performance than I've ever had ever.
Unfortunately, I think he's like kind of retired now. I don't think he's deciding to act.
You mean music wise?
Well, no, acting wise, I think he's basically said that he's kind of like, after the Jumanji movies, he's kind of like, not doing as much acting anymore. He might pop in every once in a while. I think he said.
I can tell you this: he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 upcoming IMDb 2022 credits.
I know I remember hearing him say he kind of was thinking about quitting and just like doing Tenacious D, and that was going to be his thing. Like, but maybe he changed his mind.
I don't know. Well, I mean, he's been doing a lot of stuff. Not a lot, but like you said, the Jumanji movies. He of course did all the Kung Fu Panda the voiceover for that. I think they're doing another one, or they're doing a TV series or something. And he looks like he's doing a lot of voiceover work recently. But yeah, like you said, he's been around for so long, and his prominence, really when he became a big time name, was the 2000s. I think that's when he did a lot of Tenacious D work, was in the 2000s. I remember that's when I discovered him. Greatest Song in the World. And of course he did the Tenacious D, the Pick of Destiny movie. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Where Dave Grohl plays the devil. Remember that?
Yep. Yes.
School of Rock's just a really good feel-good film from one of my favorite directors, in Richard Linklater. So I always like that band of those kids.
Yeah. All right. Well, another one that I'm going to bring up is, I guess there's a theme here of comedies. I figure I just throw this one in there because it's a all-time favorite comedy film for me. And this isn't like, the movie's not about this band, of course, but they're a great fictional band that needs to be talked about on this episode, and that is Sexual Chocolate.
Nice.
From Coming to America. the band Sexual Chocolate is one of my favorite fictional. They don't have any original songs. They're a cover band. You know, Eddie Murphy plays the lead singer, Randy Watson, and yeah, I mean they're terrible, but he describes them so well in the when he's on stage. He's singing, all the children are our future. Teach them well, let them lead the way. He's doing the whole thing. He's like, look at Sexual Chocolate. Don't they look lovely? It's just, I know that it's not about them, but
I'm pretty sure it's like a Little Richard ripoff, right?
it basically is, yeah. But look, if there was a band I wanted to see at my prom, this would have been the band.
Or
There's
like
the band, there was this band or the band from, of course, Back to the Future. But like, like other than that, Sexual Chocolate I would have loved to have been at my prom.
Oh my god, yeah.
It'd have been so bad it would have been good, So that's one of my picks because it's a favorite movie and a favorite character / band of mine. So, All right, Keith.
Nice. Another one that was highly influential to me, and another one where the actors actually learned how to play their instruments. That's The Wonders from That Thing You Do.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies, like of all time in general, and I've loved it since I was a kid. And that movie was a great kind of thing to see so early on before I started playing music, to know kind of what not to do.
Yeah.
And how not to get sucked up into the wrong things and then have your band fall apart. So. And fortunately I've been in this band for 14 years going this year. So yeah, we're doing something right somehow. But I just the one song that they basically play the entire movie is amazing. It doesn't I don't tire of it the entire time. I don't know, it's just a great little story about a small town band getting huge and then imploding basically. Mm-hmm. So, and Tom Hanks is directorial debut, and I don't know, he does a great job doing that, and the editing's super fun, and yeah, it's just a killer movie. Yeah. Everybody's great in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that one. I think I have that one. I'm pretty sure I have the Blu-ray of that. I can't remember, but
yeah, I gotta get the Blu-ray because I remember watching it when I was younger and really liking it. It's even more interesting now looking at it because it hits a part of music history that's right before the British invasion, when rock and roll would change. So it's that how would you say, like rock? It's not quite rockabilly, but it's that 1950s rock and roll, which is a lot different than when the British invasion would take over. And then it's even, isn't it like pre-Elvis rock and roll? It's in that era.
It's in that era. I feel like it's got some surf elements to it for sure, too.
It's so like, it's almost like clean. Kind of
beachy and fun.
Yeah, like that 1950s clean era type stuff. But then the movie's touching on, that even though the song is so of its time, what's going on, the exploitation of the music industry and how, it's been around for decades and all that. It's a really underrated movie in general.
Yeah, agreed.
But moving on from there, I'm going to go with the Blues Brothers from the Blues Brothers.
Nice.
Of course, the Blues Brothers, I think, were characters originated on Saturday Night Live with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. And they are Jake and Elwood Blues, and they got to get the band back together, their band, the Blues Brothers. And they got to get it back to play a benefit concert, and they got to tour around, and they mostly kind of just do like, blues songs and jazz and stuff like that. And, it's a great musical. I don't think a lot of people realize that technically the Blues Brothers movie is a musical. It's probably one of my favorites. Came out in 1980. Steven, have you seen the Blues Brothers? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's okay for me. I know it's probably another sacrilege thing.
Maybe a little sacrilege.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Dan Aykroyd fan. Like
okay.
I like Coneheads. But other than that, I've never really been like huge Dan Aykroyd fan. So
Ghostbusters never.
I guess, but I like that
Oh.
more for Bill Murray.
Oh man,
I like that more
know.
for Bill. I like Ghostbusters
I
more
guess
for
that
Bill
is
Murray.
that is a little true. I do kind of agree with you on that regard.
he's great in Grosse Point Blank.
Yeah.
If you've seen that.
Yeah.
I have
He's
not seen
really
that.
good in
No.
movie.
Oh, it's one of my
it's
favorites,
excellent.
Steven. I think you'll dig
Yeah,
it.
it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
I will
Blues
check it out,
Brothers.
yeah.
That soundtrack of that movie is awesome. It's just the music sequences are great. I mean, I love that whole sequence where they go to that beat up like southern bar where they have to play behind chicken wire and because
Yeah.
people throw bottles of glass bottles at them and they can only play the one song Rawhide because it's the only thing that's remotely close to a country song that they know. They just play it over and over again. It's good. I think it's a great comedy as well.
I'm disappointed you didn't mention Blues Brothers 2000.
Oh, I think
that's
I-
clearly
why?
the
I
superior
think I
film.
saw that on
so
an airplane one time.
It's not very good.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Well, I'll sweeten this up a little bit after that mention of Blues Brothers 2000. Oh god. So one that's I really love is Sing Street. The film Sing Street, the band Sing Street. To me personally, I feel like one of the songs in this film was robbed of the Oscar that year. I can't even remember what won that year. It might have been like La La Land or some bullshit. But Sing Street had a song, Drive It Like You Stole It. Amazing, catchy song. Would have been an amazing Oscar, how much the Oscars love to do their performances of the music. This should have been in the damn Oscar. It should have been, well, first of all, it wasn't even nominated. Second of all, if it was nominated, should have fucking done that whole damn 50s, prom scene. You could have done that live and it would have been amazing. But I love the movie and the band is so awesome. It's something that I think a lot of people, that movie you can relate to how that band got together. The guy had started a band because he wanted to impress a girl. I mean, that's why a lot of us kids did that. We started a band because we liked a girl. We've been like, girls like bands. Well, I'm going to start a band. And he didn't have really any experience doing any of it, his brother loves music, but his brother isn't, he doesn't play music, I mean, he used to play guitar, he said. He used to play guitar, but he hadn't done it in a long time. And so, now he just decides he's going to start a band with a bunch of random kids from school, and they get good, and it's fun to watch. And like I said, some of these songs are really good, very heartfelt. John Carney's the director, who I've coined the phrase a while back ago. I hope I'm probably the only one that said this. I call it the music and love trilogy, because he did that film, and then the previous films he did Once, which I think got an Oscar nomination, and then what was the between one with Keira Knightley
And Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, and Mark Ruffalo. It was an American film, because these other two
You're talking
are Irish.
about Begin Again.
Begin Again, yeah. So he has this trilogy of films about, basically, music and how music and love intertwine and all that kind of stuff. And I just love these movies, and specifically Sing Street really hit a chord with me because of, the youth element to it and just the chances that the character takes with his music and how he intertwines his personal life with his music. And it's just really good. And, yeah.
It's been on my shelf for like a year and a half, and I still haven't watched it. But I know I'm gonna love it.
Dude, you got to go. You got to go
watch it.
from watching that horror movie and then watch that to top it off.
Okay.
Like, I'm telling you. Or if you have to pick one, pick Sing Street, because Sing Street's just amazing. Like,
Yeah, and I think you'll really like Sing Street because of the the era in which it's set, and just the musical influences that the kids kind of get into is very similar to a lot of the things you were talking about. Like, they get into kind of like that punk scene of that time.
Well,
and
it's the whole 80s MTV era that you're talking about, growing up with, like the Duran Durans and like...
Yeah, it's like that glam rock type
hell
era
yeah.
and stuff like that. It's very interesting. But moving on now, I guess...
and that was
that's
that's the last one I have, so you guys
Okay.
finish it out. Yeah.
Okay, so moving back to
Okay.
Keith, yes.
Yeah. Funny enough, it's from John Carney's first movie, Once. The Guy Girl Band. I don't know if they actually had a specific name for the band, but that was just one of those movies that felt so authentic, just in the way it was shot. And the musicians being non-actors, basically kind of doing their thing and writing some really incredible music. I think if I would have, I don't know, if I would have like shown that to my middle school self, I would have thought that I was being a sappy bastard. But man, does that movie get me, man. That movie makes me tear up every time. Like the music in it is so wonderful and so intimate, and you can just feel the honesty in it. And that's something that, out of everything that I've named anyway, that's what those movies are kind of lacking. There's no artifice really there. It's just like stripped down, girl on piano, guy on guitar, and they're singing. And I don't know. It's a really touching movie without being, I don't know, too saccharine or something like that. It hurts, when they hurt. So and you can feel that in the music. And I just love the vulnerability that they kind of showcase in that. I think that's pretty special and honestly super hard to do. That's kind of like going back to what we said, about how all these people are mad about like how you're not paying for education and you're doing this thing that I paid a lot of money for. It's like, well, yeah, but you can't fake the passion. And that's exactly what this movie is doing. It's pretty incredible. And I'll end with that one. That will be my last one. So
it's a great film. And I think the song's called Falling Slowly is the main song.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great song. And I have the whole soundtrack. Yeah. There's a lot of good songs in that soundtrack.
Totally.
And the one thing I love about the film too is that the love story is unconventional. It doesn't end the way you think it's going to end. And that's, I think, what really makes that film special. And I think, unfortunately, I feel like that movie just has dropped off of people's radar.
Yeah.
Back up once again. We need to bring it up again and get it back out there in the ether, because it's a fantastic love story with great music and, like you said, authentic and it's. Like I said, all three of the movies from him I really like. Begin Again is probably the weakest of the three, but it's still really good. And it has people who are more familiar with in it, like Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo and what's his name? What's the guy from
Adam
Maroon
Levine?
5?
I think Adam Levine.
Yeah. He shows up, and I think he's actually very involved in all three of these movies.
Yeah, I think he works on the music.
Yeah, he does music. He helps write music for all three of these. So, but yeah, Once. Amazing.
Yeah, I guess I'll
bring about the once-a-sance.
Nice.
That sounds horrible. I just thought in my head. I'm sorry. It's terrible. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess I'll finish it off with probably one of the most well-known fictional bands for movies ever, and that, of course, is Spinal Tap from This is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
The Rob Reiner film from 1984, the mockumentary that's kind of been a prototypical music mockumentary standard for years and years, decades and decades. Ironically, Spinal Tap would, of course, start off as a fictional band and then kind of become a real band where they would actually produce and tour, and they came out with 3 studio albums. This is Spinal Tap, Break Like the Wind, Back from the Dead. They would tour and get back together and all kinds of stuff. Of course, they were originally all actors. And
I told Andrew this was almost a cheat because they became a real band.
But I figure
they're not fictional anymore.
It's the best one to end with because it's the one everyone knows the most, and you kind of need to at least mention them. Of course, David St. Hubbins, Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer, who of course go on to be in a lot of Christopher Guest movies. They would show up and whatnot. But yeah, the movie itself, I think, is timeless because as time goes on, it's no longer a joke that the music industry has a farcical and satirical aspect to it, and they touched on a lot of that, especially when it came to rock and roll in the 80s, how kind of metal and all that stuff kind of became so bloated that it ended up collapsing on itself, later on in the decade. But this movie was kind of ahead of its curve in terms of pointing that out. But the music that you get from Spinal Tap is just great, great stuff. A lot of it is just so so much so parody, yet the music is so good. It's really just a unique combination of things. But of course, I think that had to be mentioned.
Yeah, most definitely.
What a movie!
There's probably a lot that we're leaving out. So please, our
course.
audience, please just let us know some of your favorites. So, and maybe we'll bring them up at the beginning of next show.
In just doing, in just doing, work to research. There's a whole Rolling Stone did a whole like top 50, I think, or top 25 list of fictional bands, and of course you had like Soggy Bottom Boys were on it from Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and you had all kinds of different bands and whatnot.
Yeah. There's tons of great ones out there, and like I said, please just the listeners let us know. Go when we drop this episode, just leave them in the comments. Let us know some of the other bands that we forgot to talk about. So, but that's where we're gonna end this episode. Keith, how was it? Was it?
It was a lot of fun.
Good,
yeah,
man.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, and we're so glad to have you as well, and hope you would like to come back one day and join us for another episode. Maybe the kid will be a little bit older, and we'll you can just let him come on the show too. Like the kid can come up, maybe start speaking. You could, movies.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the first word.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I meant to ask you.
Hope.
I know you do a lot of podcasting, but have you? Are you doing anything on your own? Like, do you do any of your own shows or?
So yeah, funny question, or funny you should ask. That's something. Let's see. It's been about 2 years now. I did record actually an episode. I had a whole plan laid out, and I did it, and I went, okay, well now I'm busy with all this other stuff, and now I don't have time. So I do have an episode out there that I've shared with a couple people. That it's fine. It's a little aimless, and so it's still in the back of my mind. I'd like to do one eventually when things kind of slow down. But right now I'm just kind of having fun kicking it with people, just getting to know people like that I would have not met otherwise. Just getting to talk like with you guys about movies and stuff. So I have a blast just kind of guesting right now, but it is at some point, it is on my radar. I'm just trying to find like a cool, unique spin on something, which seems to get harder and harder to do, to be honest. But my perspective is my perspective. So that's unique in itself, I guess.
Before we came along, there's tons of other shows that do exactly what we're doing, but some people have taken interest, and that's, I think a lot of it comes with, like you said, I mean, it's about the person doing it. It's your twist on it, your personality, what you bring to it. And I think that goes a long way for people.
Totally. So. Well, and I like your both of your rapport with each other. And I mean, it just feels genuine and, just like easy breezy. So that's what I love about, your show. And
thank you.
Just made me want to come on. But I really, I can't thank you enough for having me, man.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, where should they reach out?
Best place would be Instagram. I'm just there on Keith Watches Film, or on Letterboxd at K Watches Film. Those are my main platforms. Other than that, I should be on an episode of Schlock and Awe within a week or so, doing a fun roommate double that I picked. It's 2LDK, which is like a Japanese movie about, it's kind of a two-hander in an apartment, and that's all I'll say. It gets pretty wild. And then The Odd Couple with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Nice. So the only commonality is that they're roommates. Otherwise, they are totally very different movies. Yeah. So. My band Druids is putting out a record in June, and we'll be touring in all of May across the states and a little bit into Canada. So,
hell yeah!
If you go to druidsiowa.com, that'll be all that stuff will be listed there. So,
well, you're gonna have to make it to North Carolina. I mean,
I think I am.
Wait,
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I know we're going to Virginia Beach, and then I don't know. I can't remember, but we're gonna be somewhere in that realm. So. You have to peek
Yeah, I'm
at
gonna
that.
have
I
to,
don't
I'll have to
remember.
take
It's
a
a
look,
lot of
man.
dates.
I have to come see you. I have to see if I can come
Yeah,
see you.
yeah.
I gotta look.
If you like some stony rock and roll, that's what you'll
Shit,
get. So.
I'm pretty open to most things, but if I'm coming
Yeah.
to see a friend here, I would like to say,
Yeah.
I definitely come check you out, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
I'm gonna
I'm-
look at the tour
if I'm
dates
playing,
right
I don't
now.
remember, but
Calm
let me
down,
know.
Andrew.
I don't
You're
remember.
not coming.
Oh, come on now.
That's
come
too
on
far
now.
south for you.
I was
okay?
gonna say, yeah, no one ever. Once you get, no one comes north of New York. It's like real tough.
Well, he's going
Wait,
to Canada.
so where?
He
So
might
where are
come
you?
towards
that's
Where are you
true.
at?
Yeah,
Are you in New
No,
York?
I'm in Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode Island. Actually, we're playing in Providence.
Oh,
dude, he's coming.
I'm
He's coming
pretty
here.
sure. I'm pretty sure we're playing Providence.
Okay, so one of us is gonna have to see you. We're gonna have to come. But
yeah,
Yeah, dude, that'd be awesome.
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I think this is you got the Druids. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
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 May 10th in Providence at the
Hey,
Alchemy.
there we go.
Yeah, that's me.
Come out and say what's up, man.
Yeah, 171 Chestnut Street. That's where.
Yeah, see,
that's
this
where the
shows you how
Alchemy
much of a musician he is. He's not even thinking about his tour dates. He doesn't even know where he's going to be. He's just playing the music, and he didn't care about where he's going. So that's that.
I just show up.
Yeah, that tells me a lot. That tells me a lot. But
That's the main gig.
Yeah, we got. Thing is, over here we have a lot of small clubs that for bands.
Okay.
That's why.
Nice.
Like, there's a club down the street, called the Met. It's right down the street from my house, and a lot of bands come there. Coincidentally, Henry Rollins was just there like last week doing his spoken word. Speaking of, you mentioned his band earlier. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen him speak before. He's an interesting
Oh yeah,
guy.
talk about podcasting. He loves to talk, and his stand-up spoken word and his stories are endlessly fascinating.
Yes. Yes. Very true.
well, awesome, Keith. Awesome. So Andrew, what about you? Where can they find you?
Yes. You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be the Instagram, Twitter. You can go to my Letterboxd at Chasing Labels, and you can find the audio for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and a lot of other places. And that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.